What if the absolute most valuable asset in your entire business isn't actually the product you sell
Right.
or, your branding or even your own personal expertise, but instead it's a list of people who haven't even bought a single thing from you yet?
I mean, it completely flips the whole traditional business model right on its head, doesn't it?
It really does.
Because, we are so deeply conditioned to think that the product is the hero of the story. Like, you build a better mousetrap and the world is just going to beat a path to your door.
Exactly. The old "if you build it, they will come" mentality.
Yeah. But in the digital landscape, that is, well, it's actually a pretty fast recipe for bankruptcy.
Yeah. So today we're going to challenge that fundamental assumption. Welcome to today's deep dive, where we are exploring the core concepts from Chapter 1 of Russell Brunson's book, Lead Funnels, specifically pages 2 through 7.
This is such a great section to dig into.
It is. We're going to trace this massive evolution in digital business. We are going to look at the transition from the absolute Wild West of the 1990s, those incredibly annoying pop-up ads that literally used to crash our computers, all the way to the highly engineered, really sophisticated systems known as lead funnels that basically run the internet today.
And look, this matters immensely for anyone listening right now. I don't care if you are a super seasoned entrepreneur or, a local bakery owner trying to figure out how to get more foot traffic,
Right.
or honestly, just someone who is intensely curious about why the modern internet is structured the way it is. Understanding this evolution isn't just like a fun history lesson. It is the ultimate blueprint.
Yes.
It's the underlying mechanics of how you acquire customers predictably without ever having to panic about where your next sale is actually coming from.
Okay, so to understand where we are right now
Hmm.
and just the sheer genius of modern marketing machinery, we actually have to go back a couple of
I had
decades.
to go into the dark ages.
The dial-up internet era. If you were using computers in the late 90s or early 2000s, you know exactly what the web felt like.
Oh, it was so chaotic.
Right. You would wait like 3 full minutes just for a single image to load. You'd navigate to a website looking for some basic information, and then boom,
The pop-ups.
the most jarring user experience possible. A completely separate window just pops up dead center on your screen, absolutely demanding your attention.
It was an incredibly aggressive tactic. I mean, at the time, online lead generation was in its absolute infancy, and the strategy was basically as blunt as a hammer.
Just hitting you over the head with it.
Exactly. These were the early days of direct response marketing on the web. So you would see these standalone pop-up windows demanding your email address in exchange for, well, something.
Usually some kind of gimmick.
Yeah. They'd promise a free digital report, or they'd use this crazy sweepstakes model. Something like, enter your email address right now for a chance to win $1 million.
Which, obviously, nobody was winning $1 million. It's just a digital shouting match. But, let's look at it from a business perspective for a second.
Right.
Why were they doing this?
Right.
Obviously, it was super annoying for the user, but there had to be some massive economic incentive for these companies to risk making everyone so angry just to get an email address.
The economic incentive was literally everything. We have to look at the actual mechanics of early internet advertising. Marketers were paying money to acquire that email address up front.
Okay.
In those days, you could buy pop-up ad packages from early ad networks for pennies, like literal pennies.
Wow.
You might pay an agency, say, $50, and your pop-up would be triggered thousands, maybe even millions of times across all these various websites.
That's insane volume for $50.
It was. But here is the kicker. The moment a user actually typed their email into that little box and hit submit, the entire financial dynamic of that relationship totally changed.
Because the marketer suddenly owned the direct line of communication.
Precisely. They paid, what, a tiny fraction of a cent to acquire that lead just one time. But once that email was in their database, in their early autoresponder software, they could market to that individual forever.
Absolutely free.
For free. Every time they had a new product or a new affiliate offer or just a new piece of content, they just hit send.
Right.
And these databases didn't just grow by a few dozen names. We are talking about marketers going from 0 to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and eventually millions of people on a single email list.
So think about the raw power of that for a second. Having a captive audience of 1 million people that you can reach on a Tuesday morning with 0 distribution cost.
It's unheard of in traditional media.
Exactly. Because if you wanted to run a commercial on television back then to reach 1 million people, you were paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for a 30-second spot.
Oh, easily.
Or if you wanted to send 1 million pieces of direct mail, You were paying for the printing, the envelopes, the postage. It was a fortune. But this was essentially a printing press in your basement.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to describe it.
But of course, as we know, when marketers find a loophole that basically prints money, they exploit it until it breaks.
And boy, did they break it. The whole pop-up ecosystem just spiraled completely out of control because the barrier to entry was so incredibly low and the return on investment was so high, it just escalated rapidly.
I remember. It wasn't just one pop-up ad anymore.
No, because marketers realized, hey, if one pop-up gets me a 1% conversion rate, maybe triggering 3 pop-ups will get me 3%.
Oh, man.
So you would navigate to a completely innocent website, right? Just trying to read an article. And suddenly your screen would just be completely hijacked. 14 different ads would just cascade across your monitor.
I remember this vividly. It was a complete technological nightmare for the consumer.
Yeah.
And you have to remember the hardware we were working with back then.
Oh, yeah, the old beige towers.
Exactly. We didn't have 16 gigabytes of RAM in our desktop computers. When a browser tried to simultaneously render 14 distinct pop-up windows, the processor would just give up.
It would literally freeze.
Computers would completely freeze and crash. You couldn't even move your mouse to click the little X to close them.
It was infuriating. And that massive consumer pain point is exactly what gave birth to a technological countermeasure, which was the pop-up blocker.
Right.
Browser developers realized pretty quickly that if they didn't protect the user experience, people were just going to stop using the web entirely. It was becoming unusable.
Yeah, I mean, why go online if it's just going to crash your computer?
Exactly. So they hard-coded software into the browsers that actively prevented these secondary windows from opening without the user's permission.
And as a user, I remember it felt like an absolute miracle. Suddenly, the web was quiet again.
Peaceful. Right?
So peaceful.
Yeah.
But I imagine for the digital marketers who had built these massive multi-million-dollar empires on this one specific tactic, I mean, this was a cataclysmic event.
Oh, absolutely.
If your entire business model relies on a pop-up to get an email, and the internet itself makes pop-ups illegal, your business basically just disappears overnight.
It was a mass extinction event for a very specific type of internet marketer. The whole golden era of easy, super cheap list building seemed to be over in one fell swoop.
Right.
But, this is exactly where true innovation actually happens. Necessity forces a pivot. With secondary windows being actively blocked by the browsers, some of the more brilliant strategic minds in this space realized they had a fundamental problem.
They couldn't force an extra window to open.
Right. They couldn't force it. So they made this massive conceptual leap. They decided to make the pop-up the actual page.
Okay, let's unpack this. They took the annoying little window, blew it up, and made it the entire destination.
Yes. This right here is the birth of the squeeze page.
The squeeze page.
Instead of a pop-up interrupting the user's journey while they were browsing a website, the website itself became the interruption. It acted as a gateway. Yeah. When you clicked a link to go to a site, you didn't see the normal navigation bar or the About Us page or the blog. You saw a single, highly focused page that quite literally forced you to trade your email address if you wanted to see the content on the other side.
It was literally designed to, squeeze the contact information right out of the visitor.
Exactly. That's where the name comes from.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let's look at this from the perspective of a normal business owner in the early 2000s.
Sure.
You're telling me to take my beautiful website, the one I just spent $10,000 paying some webmaster to design, the one with all my products, my brand story, my glossy photos.
Right.
And you want me to put a giant locked digital door over it. You want me to hide the entire business behind a blank page demanding an email.
I know, it sounds crazy.
If I do that, 90% of my traffic is going to hit that wall, absolutely refuse to give their email, and bounce immediately. How is intentionally losing 90% of my web traffic a viable business strategy? Didn't that seem like the dumbest idea in the world at the time?
It was highly controversial. And your reaction right there is exactly how the vast majority of the business world reacted at the time. There were intense, super heated debates in the marketing community about this.
I bet.
Because it defied all conventional wisdom. I mean, the prevailing logic of the early internet was basically modeled after traditional media. Right? Maximize page views, maximize eyeballs on your brand, and keep people clicking around your site for as long as possible. Putting up a massive barrier just seemed like commercial suicide.
Exactly. It's like building this massive, beautiful retail store and then locking the front doors and forcing people to slide their driver's license under the door before you let them in to browse. you'd go out of business in a week.
You really would in the physical world.
So why did this digital version of that work? Because obviously it did. The squeeze page completely changed the architecture of the internet forever.
To understand why it worked, we really have to look at the underlying psychology, and specifically, the quality of the traffic. Think of a traditional open website, like a massive billboard on the side of a busy highway.
Okay, a billboard.
You pay a lot of money to put it up, millions of cars drive by, maybe they look at it, maybe they kind of like your logo, but once they drive past, they are gone forever.
Right.
You have absolutely no idea who they were, and you have no way to contact them again unless they magically decide to pull over and call you.
Okay, so the open website is the billboard. What is the squeeze page?
The squeeze page is a toll booth.
A toll booth.
Yes. You cannot pass until you roll down your window and make a transaction. In this case, the currency is your contact information. And yes, you are absolutely right that 90% of the cars might see the toll booth, get annoyed, turn around, and drive away.
You lose that massive volume.
You lose the volume. But here is the absolute genius of the mechanism. The squeeze page acts as a behavioral filter.
A behavioral filter. Okay, break that down for me.
Sure. When a website is completely open, you get a ton of passive browsers, window shoppers, people who are just mildly bored, clicking around, eating up your server bandwidth, and then leaving without a trace.
Right, the tire kickers.
Exactly. A squeeze page forces what we call a micro-commitment. By demanding an email address upfront, you aggressively filter out the unmotivated passive traffic. The 10% of people who actually stop, read your offer, and hand over their email. They are signaling something incredibly important.
That they actually care.
Yes. They are signaling that they are highly motivated, they are actively seeking a solution to a specific problem, or they have a deep, burning curiosity about what you are offering on the other side of that door.
Okay, I get it now. So you are intentionally sacrificing vanity metrics, all those meaningless page views, in exchange for a concentrated, highly targeted pool of actual prospects.
Exactly. You are trading volume for quality. You capture highly motivated leads, and because you've captured them, you are no longer relying on them to just, remember to visit your website again someday.
Right, hoping they come back.
You don't have to hope. You can now build a relationship with them, educate them, and sell to them on your own terms directly in their inbox.
This is a massive paradigm shift. It really is. It shows that if your primary marketing channel gets blocked by a new technology or an algorithm update or even a new privacy law, you don't just throw your hands up and say the business is dead.
Never.
You look at the core function of the tactic, which in this case was getting the email, and you just integrate that ask into the core user experience.
Yeah.
They couldn't use pop-ups to interrupt the user anymore, so they just made the page itself the interruption.
And that strategic adaptation really highlights the foundational philosophy of this entire digital ecosystem. I mean, the reason they were willing to risk turning away 90% of their traffic was because they understood a core truth about business value.
Right.
A principle that totally justifies putting up that locked door in the first place.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that principle is the famous mantra, the money is in the list.
Precisely. The money is in the list. It is the ultimate realization that a company's true value isn't its product line, it isn't its sleek branding, and it isn't even the intellectual property of the founder.
Which is hard for founders to hear sometimes.
Oh, it hurts the ego. But the true liquid asset that builds actual equity in a business is its user base, its list.
Okay, to really visualize this, we have to talk about one of the most famous acquisitions in tech history. Let's talk about when eBay bought Skype.
Oh, this is the perfect example.
It's happened back in 2005. eBay acquired Skype for $2.6 billion. Billion with O.
It's a staggering number at the time. I mean, it made headlines everywhere because people just couldn't comprehend why an online auction house was buying a voice-over IP video calling service. It made no sense to people.
Right. And here's where the concept of the list comes into play. Let's just look at eBay's resources in 2005. They were an absolute titan of the internet. They had thousands of the absolute best software engineers and developers on the planet working for them.
True.
If eBay simply wanted to add video calling to their platform, they didn't need to spend $2.6 billion to acquire the Skype software.
No, not at all.
They could have locked 50 of their best engineers in a room, given them a mountain of pizza and energy drinks. And they could have cloned the core functionality of Skype software in, like, a few weeks. The code itself wasn't worth billions.
So what were they actually buying?
They bought Skype's 60 million users. They bought the distribution channel.
That distinction right there is the linchpin of digital economics. They didn't buy the technology, they bought the audience.
It makes me think about commercial real estate.
Oh, how so?
Well, imagine a massive, sprawling plot of land, right? And sitting right in the middle of it is this tiny, dilapidated, rundown wooden shack.
Okay.
If a massive conglomerate comes in and buys that property for $2.6 billion, they aren't paying for the shack. The shack is basically worthless. They are buying the property because a geological survey revealed there is a literal gold mine sitting beneath the dirt.
I love that.
In the digital world, your software, your website, your current product offering, that's just the shack. The list of users, the direct access to humans who actually trust you, that is the gold mine.
That is a phenomenal way to visualize it. And this raises an incredibly important question for the everyday business owner or creator listening to this right now. Where are you spending your time?
Yeah.
Most entrepreneurs mistakenly believe that their value, the thing they should be obsessing over for 90% of their day, is perfecting their product or service. They obsess over the features of the widget, the color of the logo, the formatting of their ebook.
They are out there putting a fresh coat of paint on the shack.
Exactly. They are polishing the shack while completely ignoring the dirt. But this eBay and Skype example proves that the actual quantifiable asset that determines the valuation of your company is the customer list.
Wow.
If you look at the early pioneers of internet marketing from 15 or 20 years ago, the landscape has completely changed. Most of the massive names from that era have completely disappeared.
It's true. You don't hear about them anymore.
Because their products became obsolete, or their software stopped working on new operating systems, or their specific marketing niches just dried up, the only ones who survived, the ones who went on to build massive modern empires, were the ones who had a singular, relentless focus on building their customer list.
Because when one product died,
They simply created a new one and emailed the list. The business lived on because the distribution channel was owned.
okay, so the practical takeaway here requires a fundamental rewiring of your daily operations. If you are running a business, you really need to change your morning mantra. When you wake up, instead of asking yourself, how do I sell my product today? Or how do I get more likes on my Instagram post today?
Okay.
You need to ask a much more structural question.
Which is?
How do I build my list today? Because if you build the list, the product sales become the inevitable byproduct of that distribution.
That is the perfect distillation of the strategy, honestly. But as with all things in technology, the environment didn't stay static.
Of course not.
Squeeze pages were incredibly effective when traffic was dirt cheap. But what happens when the massive tech monopolies realize how much money marketers are making?
Google and Facebook enter the chat.
Exactly. The era of the simple squeeze page eventually hit a massive financial roadblock. As advertising platforms like Google AdWords and eventually Facebook ads matured, they realized the value of their own real estate.
Right.
The cost to buy an ad, the cost to get a human to click and visit your squeeze page, skyrocketed. We are talking about going from paying a penny a click to paying $1, $2, or even $5 a click.
And this is exactly where the math breaks. Let's think about it. If I have a simple squeeze page and I'm giving away a free digital report in exchange for an email, let's say my squeeze page converts really well, maybe 20%.
That's a solid conversion rate.
Yeah, that means I need 5 people to click my ad to get 1 email. Now, if I'm paying a penny a click, I get a lead for 5 cents. That's amazing. I'll do that all day. But if Google suddenly charges me $3 a click, I'm now paying $15 to acquire a single email address for a free report.
Yep.
If I want a list of 10,000 people, I have to spend $150,000 up front, with absolutely no immediate way to make it back. A simple squeeze page would bankrupt you in a week.
Precisely. The rising cost of digital real estate forced the next massive evolution. A squeeze page is just a single point of entry. It's a one-way street. To survive the traffic cost explosion, that single page had to evolve into a multi-step sequence designed to immediately recoup the cost of the ad.
It had to become more sophisticated.
Yes. The squeeze page had to evolve into what we now call a lead funnel.
And this brings us to one of the most legendary case studies in the entire digital marketing space, the story of Double Your Dating. I want to dive deep into this because this is where the actual mechanics of a funnel really come to life.
It is such a fantastic case study. Back in the early days of this transition, there was a marketer named Eben Pagan. He was writing and operating under the pen name David D'Angelo, and he had built this massive brand in the men's dating advice niche. His flagship website was called Double Your Dating.
Now, at the time, Rumors were swirling around the marketing industry that this specific website was pulling in $20 million a year, which is an astronomical number for an information product business, especially back then.
Unbelievable numbers.
So all these other marketers, trying to figure out how to survive the rising ad costs, they navigate to this Double Your Dating website to see what the magic formula is. They're expecting a massive, complex corporate website.
Right, tons of pages, shopping carts.
Exactly. But when they type in the URL, all they see is a basic, plain white landing page. Just a headline, a promise for some free dating tips, and a box asking for an email address.
You can imagine the confusion. Marketers are looking at this single rudimentary page and their brains are just breaking. They are thinking, the math doesn't work. How can a single page that gives away free information possibly generate $20 million a year? Where are the products? Where is the cart?
And this introduces one of the most vital concepts in modern business analysis, the concept of the iceberg.
The iceberg is the perfect metaphor for a lead funnel. When those marketers looked at the Double Your Dating homepage, they were only looking at the tip of the iceberg visible above the waterline.
Just what everyone else sees.
Exactly. It's the public-facing facade. It looks small, simple, and unthreatening. But the actual mass of the iceberg, the complex machinery, the psychological sequencing, and the $20 million revenue model was completely hidden below the surface of the water.
Wow.
It only existed in the steps that occurred after a user submitted their email address.
So if you really want to understand how a business is actually making its money, you can't just look at their public homepage. You have to put on your scuba gear and dive under the water.
You have to opt in.
Right. This is a process known as funnel hacking, going through a competitor's sales process not as a passive observer, but actively experiencing it as a customer to reverse engineer their success.
And there is a brilliant, actually hilarious anecdote in the book about the lengths marketers will go to in order to hack a successful funnel.
Oh, this is my favorite story.
There was a marketer who desperately wanted to understand the Double Your Dating iceberg, but he had a massive personal problem. He had just gotten married.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and he was terrified that if he put his primary email address into a website called Double Your Dating, he would start receiving this barrage of daily emails with subject lines about how to pick up women.
That is a recipe for a very awkward conversation with a new spouse. Like, honey, I promise these emails about attracting single women are strictly for market research.
Exactly. He was so worried about the optics of it that he literally picked up the phone, called his new wife, and asked for explicit permission.
He actually called her.
He did. He explained, look, there's a guy making $20 million a year with this specific website. I need to know how the machinery works. I have to put my email in to see the subsequent pages. Please do not divorce me when the newsletters start arriving.
That is hilarious, but it underscores a profound strategic takeaway for anyone doing competitor analysis. Do not judge your competitor's business by their homepage. You are only seeing the tip of their iceberg.
Absolutely.
If you see a competitor who seems to be everywhere running massive amounts of expensive ads, and you are wondering, how on earth can they afford this? They must be losing money. You are missing the picture.
You're not seeing the engine.
Right. You have to opt in. You have to buy their cheap product, see what their upsell is, read their email sequence. You have to experience the funnel step by step to understand their actual economic engine.
And when marketers finally summon the courage to dive beneath the surface of the Double Your Dating iceberg, they completely cracked the code. They discovered that it wasn't just a squeeze page. It was a highly orchestrated series of events designed to capture a lead and immediately liquidate the cost of acquiring that lead.
The lead funnel.
Yes. And this machinery can be deconstructed into 5 very specific parts. This is the anatomy of a lead funnel.
And we're going to spend some serious time unpacking these 5 parts, because if you understand this blueprint, you understand how to build an audience for free in today's ad climate. So let's pull back the curtain. Part 1 is the lead magnet.
The lead magnet. Conceptually, this is the ethical bribe. It is the piece of specific, highly valuable content that you give away for free in exchange for a prospect's email address. It is the bait on the hook.
The critical thing here is the value proposition, right?
Yeah.
You are asking a modern internet user who probably already gets 200 spam emails a day to willingly give you direct access to their inbox.
Which is sacred space now.
Exactly. They know you are going to market to them, so whatever you are offering on that page has to be perceived as so valuable that they're willing to make that trade anyway.
And this brings us back to the Double Your Dating example. Eben Pagan's lead magnet wasn't like a massive 300-page ebook on the deep psychology of human attraction.
It wasn't a textbook.
No, it was something incredibly specific. It was called the KISS test. It was a secret technique on how to read body language to tell if a woman is ready to be kissed.
Now, when people opted in to finally see this legendary multi-million-dollar secret, they expected a complex thesis, right? A multi-part video series or a massive PDF.
Sure, they expected high production value.
But it wasn't. It was literally just 5 sentences.
Yeah.
2 short paragraphs of text.
2 paragraphs, and yet it converted like crazy. It built a massive list.
Okay, wait. Let's really analyze this. How does a 2-paragraph lead magnet build a $20 million empire? Why did that specific concept work so universally well?
To understand why it worked, we really have to look at the behavioral psychology of the target audience. There is a brilliant strategist named Myron Golden who articulates a fundamental rule of human motivation.
Okay, what's the rule?
He theorizes that human beings are wired to move away from pain much faster and with much more urgency than they move toward pleasure.
This is a huge concept. Moving away from pain versus moving toward pleasure. And frankly, most entrepreneurs and marketers get this completely backwards, don't they?
Oh, almost entirely backwards. Think about it by nature. Entrepreneurs are visionaries.
Yeah.
They are optimists.
They have to be.
Exactly. They are motivated by growth, by achieving the next big milestone, by the pleasure of success. And because they are wired that way, they naturally project that motivation onto their customers. So they create marketing materials, messaging, and lead magnets that promise ultimate pleasure.
Like how to achieve your wildest dreams, or how to build $1 million business, how to get a 6-pack in 30 days.
They are selling the utopian vision.
Right.
But the vast majority of the human population doesn't operate with that level of forward-looking, visionary drive on a daily basis. The average person is primarily motivated by a desire to escape immediate discomfort, avoid embarrassment, or relieve a present anxiety.
Let's apply this to the KISS test. If you look at it superficially, dating is about pleasure, right? Finding a partner, falling in love. But that's not what the lead magnet targeted.
Not at all. The KISS test didn't promise the pleasure of finding a soulmate. It promised an escape from a very specific, visceral pain.
Which is?
Well, for a single man navigating the dating world, one of the most agonizing, embarrassing, and painful social experiences is going in for a kiss and being physically rejected.
Absolutely. It's awful.
It is a moment of acute social agony. The KISS test offered a painkiller for that exact anxiety. It basically said, read these 2 paragraphs and you will never have to experience that humiliating rejection again. It is an escape hatch from pain.
That is a massive perspective shift. Stop trying to sell the distant dream and start selling the immediate painkillers.
Yes.
Like, if you were a fitness coach, instead of a lead magnet titled How to Get a Beach Body for Summer, which is a pleasure goal that takes 6 months of really hard work, you create a lead magnet titled 3 stretches to stop lower back pain when sitting at your desk.
Exactly. You are solving an immediate, acute pain point. People will trade their email for a painkiller far faster than they will for a vitamin.
That's a great way to put it, the painkiller versus the vitamin.
Yeah.
So once you have conceptualized your pain-relieving lead magnet, you have to actually present it to the world. And that brings us to the machinery of part 2, the landing page.
The landing page. This is the modern, highly optimized version of the squeeze page we talked about earlier. This is the physical toll booth on the highway.
Right, the toll booth.
The core concept of the landing page is the barter system. It is a digital negotiation. The design of this page must be incredibly simple, almost aggressively bare.
No distractions.
None. It typically consists of only a few elements: a bold headline, a subheadline to build some curiosity, an image or mock-up of the lead magnet, and the opt-in form where they enter their email. There is no navigation menu, no link to your social media, no About Us section.
Because if you give them a link to your Instagram, they'll just click it and leave the funnel.
Exactly. Every single pixel on that page is designed to force a binary decision. Give me your email or leave.
It's all about focus. But the real heavy lifting on this page isn't the design. It's the words. It's the hook in the headline. I've actually seen behind the scenes of some massive funnels, and there was one specific landing page offering a marketing secrets black book that converts at an astronomical 55%.
55% on cold traffic.
Over half the cold traffic that lands on that page gives up their email. And the secret to that conversion rate is how the headline is engineered to exploit human curiosity.
Curiosity is the absolute engine of the opt-in.
Right. Because if your hook is vague or cliche, it completely fails. Like if a diet company's landing page just says, enter your email and I'll show you how to lose weight, The user's brain immediately categorizes it as spam.
It's boring. We've seen it a million times.
We think we already know the answer, right? Eat less, exercise more. There is no curiosity gap. But if that same diet company uses a hook that says, "How I lost 32 pounds eating hot dogs, hamburgers, and ice cream," suddenly the user's brain breaks a little bit.
It creates massive cognitive dissonance.
Exactly. The brain says, wait a minute, that violates the laws of physics. You can't lose weight eating ice cream and hot dogs. That is impossible. But the assertion is sitting right there on the screen.
So they have to know.
The only way the brain can resolve that dissonance, the only way to scratch that mental itch and find out if it's true, is to type the email into the box and hit submit. You aren't opting in because you want a diet plan. You're opting in because you have to solve the mystery.
You are leveraging human psychology to bypass their natural resistance to giving up their data. It's brilliant. So they see the curious hook, they experience the dissonance, they barter their email address to solve the mystery, and the moment they hit submit, the software immediately redirects them to part 3, the thank you page.
Now, on the surface, the thank you page seems super basic. It's just the page that says, hey, thanks for subscribing. Your report is in your inbox. And I feel like a lot of people treat this as an afterthought.
Oh, absolutely. They throw it together in 5 minutes.
But structurally, it serves a critical psychological function in the funnel, doesn't it?
It is arguably the most sensitive moment in the entire customer journey. Think about it. You just engaged in a transaction based entirely on trust.
Right.
They just gave you access to their private inbox based on a promise you made on the landing page. If you make them wait for the lead magnet, or if you make it difficult to find, or if the lead magnet is just garbage, you instantly break that newly formed trust.
And once it's broken, it's so hard to get back.
Impossible, almost. The thank you page must deliver the goods instantly. It provides immediate gratification. It proves to the user, I make a promise and I immediately fulfill it.
It establishes a positive dopamine loop. I click the button and I got the reward. I can trust this brand.
Exactly. You have successfully bridged the gap from stranger to subscriber. But if the process stopped there, we would be back to the exact same problem we discussed earlier.
The rising cost of ads.
Yes. If you are paying $3 a click to get people to this thank you page, you are bleeding cash. Delivering the free value is great for trust, but it doesn't pay the server bill.
And this is where the magic of the modern funnel really happens. Because on that very same thank you page, or sometimes immediately following it on a new page, you introduce part 4, the sales page.
Yes.
This is the secret weapon for surviving and dominating the world of paid digital traffic.
This introduces the concept of the self-liquidating offer, or the SLO.
Okay, let's slow down here. The self-liquidating offer.
The goal of this sales page is not to make you a millionaire. The goal is to mathematically recoup your ad costs immediately so you can keep buying ads and growing your list indefinitely without going out of pocket.
We need to break down the specific math of how this mechanism works because this is literally the engine of modern digital commerce.
Let's absolutely do the math because this changes everything. Let's say you are buying ads on a major platform like Facebook or Google.
Okay.
Let's assume a blended cost to acquire a lead, meaning the cost to get someone through the toll booth and onto the list is about $1.
Just to keep it simple.
Right. So you spend $100 on Facebook ads today. You acquire 100 highly motivated leads. As of right now, you are $100 in the hole.
Okay. I've got my 100 leads, but my bank account is down $100.
Right. You have an asset, the list, but negative cash flow. But the moment those 100 people opt in, they hit the thank you page, they get their free lead magnet, and they are immediately presented with a sales page.
Right then and there.
Yes, this page offers a low-barrier, low-ticket product that is directly related to the painkiller they just downloaded. Let's say it's a $10 product, like an ebook, a mini course, or a template.
So you have 100 people looking at a $10 offer. Now, we know that most people won't buy. They just wanted the free thing, right? So let's assume a very modest, really conservative conversion rate. Let's say only 5% of those 100 people decide to pull out their credit card and buy the $10 product.
Okay, let's run the numbers. 5 people buy a $10 product. That generates $50 in immediate revenue.
Okay, let's look at where we stand. You spent $100 on ads this morning. By this afternoon, you made $50 back from the sales page. You are still down $50.
Yep.
Your offer is subsidizing your ad spend, right? It's helping, but it's not completely self-liquidating yet. You're still losing money. If the funnel ended right here, you would eventually run out of capital and have to turn the ads off.
But the funnel does not end here. And that brings us to the final and unequivocally the most powerful piece of the entire puzzle. Part 5, the follow-up funnel.
Machinery beneath the machinery.
Exactly. The follow-up funnel is an automated sequential series of communications. In the old days, this was just an autoresponder sending text emails. Today, it's a whole omni-channel ecosystem.
Like what?
It could be a sequence of emails, sure, but also SMS text messages, a retargeting ad on Facebook, or a push notification. The moment that user opted in for the lead magnet, their data was logged and they were automatically added to this timed sequence.
And this is where the math from part 4 gets resolved. Let's continue our scenario. You are still $50 in the hole from day 1. But over the next few days, your follow-up funnel goes to work while you are sleeping.
Automation is beautiful.
It is. So on day 2, it sends an automated email that provides a little more free value, maybe a case study, and gently reminds them about that $10 product. On day 3, it sends a text message linking them to a podcast where you talk about the problem and, again, offers the $10 solution.
You are continuing to build the relationship. You are building trust, authority, and omnipresence. And because you are nurturing that relationship, the math shifts. Let's say that by day 3, because of those follow-up emails, another 5% of those original 100 leads decide they are finally ready to buy the $10 product.
Boom! Another 5 people buy the $10 product. That's another $50 in revenue. So let's look at the ledger.
Let's do it.
You made $50 on day 1 from the initial sales page. You made another $50 by day 3 from the follow-up funnel. You have now generated $100 in total revenue. You spent exactly $100 on the Facebook ads.
You have officially broken even.
And this is the critical inflection point of the entire digital economy, isn't
It
it?
absolutely is. Once you hit that break-even point, whether your specific funnel math allows you to break even on day 1, day 3, or even month 6, for more expensive customer acquisition models, the entire game changes. Every single sale that happens after that point is pure, unadulterated profit.
Because the cost of acquisition has been completely liquidated.
Exactly. You now possess a list of 100 highly targeted, motivated people that effectively cost you $0 to acquire. The funnel footed the bill.
That is it's mind-blowing when you really internalize it.
And because you own that list, you can market to them next week with a $500 product, next month with a coaching program, or next year with a live event ticket without ever having to pay Facebook or Google another dime to reach them.
We really need to pause and talk about why breaking even changes your behavior as a business owner.
Okay, let's get into it.
Let's look at ad auctions. When you buy an ad on Facebook, you are in a literal auction against your competitors. If your competitor is just sending traffic to a normal homepage, they might take 30 days to make a return on their investment. Because their cash flow is tied up, they can only afford to bid $1 to acquire a lead.
Right, they are cash-strapped.
But if you have a lead funnel with a self-liquidating offer and you know you break even on day 1 or day 3, your cash comes right back to you. You can take that exact same $100 and spend it again tomorrow and the next day.
You achieve infinite velocity of capital because you get your money back immediately. You can go into the ad platform and tell the algorithm, hey, I'm willing to spend $3 to acquire a lead. You outbid your competitor. You push them out of the ad auction entirely. You aren't just getting free leads, you are aggressively buying market share. The rule is, he who can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. And the lead funnel is the exact mechanism that allows you to spend the most.
It is the ultimate leverage. I want to share a story that really grounds this in reality because, it's easy to get lost in all the math and the theory.
I love real-world example.
There's a very well-known figure in the funnel building community named Steve Larson. He's incredibly successful now, running a massive coaching empire. But years ago, before he understood this machinery, he was dead broke. He was struggling to feed his family.
A lot of entrepreneurs start there.
Yeah. He managed to scrape together just enough money to attend a digital marketing event, but he was so financially strained that he literally couldn't afford a hotel room for the final night of the conference.
So what does a desperate entrepreneur do in that situation?
He didn't sleep. He sat in the lobby of that hotel on the couches all night long with his laptop open, and he just built funnels. He didn't have a massive budget. He didn't have venture capital. But he understood the math we just discussed. He knew that if he could just engineer a funnel where part 1 through 5 worked, if he could build a sequence that liquidated its own ad cost, it was his literal ticket out of poverty.
It wasn't about building a pretty website anymore.
No, it was about building an economic engine. And it worked. He dialed in the math, broke even, and built an empire.
It is a profound testament to the power of the system. The ultimate practical takeaway from deconstructing these 5 parts is realizing what a lead funnel actually is.
What is it at its core?
It is not a static web page. It is not a digital brochure for your company. A lead funnel is a dynamic, self-liquidating ecosystem. If you engineer it correctly, matching the pain-relieving lead magnet to a curious landing page, fulfilling trust on the thank you page, presenting a logical sales page, and nurturing with a follow-up funnel, your marketing budget fundamentally changes categories.
It stops being an expense.
Exactly. Traditional advertising is an expense. You spend the money, you hope for the best, the money is gone. A lead funnel transforms advertising into an investment that yields a permanent, appreciating asset.
The list.
Yes, you are buying the most valuable commodity in business, a captive audience, and having the system pay for itself.
So as we synthesize everything we've unpacked today, the overarching theme is really control. The internet started as a wild west of pop-ups, evolved into walled-off squeeze pages, and matured into these sophisticated funnels. But the core driver of all that evolution was the desire to own the relationship with the customer.
A lead funnel is, at its heart, an automated relationship-building machine.
That is the soul of the strategy. It takes a cold prospect, a total stranger who clicks an ad, and systematically walks them through a psychological journey of trust, value, and conversion, all while protecting the business owner's cash flow. I want to leave everyone listening with a thought to chew on as you go about the rest of your day. We spend hours online every single day, right? We are constantly scrolling, clicking, browsing. Think about your own digital habits. How many icebergs did you bump into today without even realizing it?
It's a fascinating exercise, really, because once you understand the architecture, you start seeing the funnels everywhere. They are invisible until you know what to look for.
Exactly. So the next time you confidently hand over your email address because an e-commerce site offered you a 10% discount code, or you download a PDF checklist on how to fix a very specific pain point in your golf swing, I want you to stop and observe.
Look beneath the surface.
Ask yourself, what machinery is turning beneath the surface of the water? When you get the immediate upsell on the thank you page, recognize it as the self-liquidating offer. When you get the email 3 days later, recognize it as the follow-up funnel. Ask yourself, what is their day 3 break-even strategy?
Start analyzing the internet not as a consumer, but as a funnel hacker. Because once you can spot the icebergs, you can deconstruct them. And once you can deconstruct them, you can build your own.
And that is exactly where we are heading next. Now that you understand the history, the behavioral psychology, and the exact 5-part anatomy of a $20 million funnel, the only question left is execution. How do you actually build one of these ecosystems for your own idea or business step by step? We're going to unlock the specific implementation strategies to do exactly that in our next deep dive. We'll see you then. What if I told you that a simple 5-sentence paragraph, like a tiny block of text known as the KISS test, was the secret engine behind a $20 million a year business?
I mean, it sounds totally made up, right?
It really does. But what if the exact same 5-step architecture that built that massive empire is something you could literally plug into your own life today?
Yeah, and it sounds like pure hyperbole when you frame it like that.
Yeah.
But the reality of the math and the behavioral psychology driving it is just so grounded. It's
Right.
grounded in exactly how human beings process risk, and trust and decision-making.
So today, we are doing a deep dive into the architecture of a lead funnel. We're unpacking Chapter 2, Lead Funnel Strategy, covering pages 8 to 15 from our source material.
It's a fascinating section.
It really is. We are going to look at the foundational strategies, the case studies, and the undeniable psychology of how to take a complete stranger on the internet and, turn them into a loyal customer.
And do it without going bankrupt on ads, which is the dream.
Exactly. We're exploring the 5 critical phases of this system.
Yeah.
It's this highly intentional sequence designed to build immediate trust.
Right.
And it creates a self-sustaining ecosystem to grow your audience and revenue. So if you're interested in business, whether it's a side hustle or scaling a big company, this matters. It is the ultimate shortcut to acquiring customers, in a super noisy digital world.
And, setting the pedagogical foundation here is vital before we jump in.
Okay, set it up for us.
We aren't looking at some, ephemeral digital marketing hack here, not something that works on an algorithm today and just vanishes tomorrow.
Like a trendy TikTok dance for business or something.
Exactly, no. What we are analyzing is a framework for human relationship building.
Okay.
It is basically a digital reflection of how trust is formed in the physical world. The technology, it just merely accelerates and automates a process that has existed since the dawn of commerce.
I love that. So to build a relationship, you first have to get someone's attention right.
You do.
You need to offer them something so incredibly irresistible that they are willing to trade their contact information for it. And that brings us to the first of our 5 phases, the lead magnet.
The lead magnet is, without a doubt, the absolute bedrock of this entire strategy.
Right.
By definition, it is an asset of high perceived value that you literally give away for free in exchange for a prospect's email address.
That's an email address.
Right. Now, the mechanical function is just to acquire that contact info, but the psychological function, the deeper mechanism at play here, is to establish an immediate baseline of value.
To show you actually know what you're talking about.
Exactly. Value, competence, and trust, all instantly.
Okay, let's unpack this because I want to go back to that $20 million kiss test I mentioned in the hook.
Yeah.
The story behind this is just wild.
It really is a classic case study.
So we're talking about the early days of internet marketing with a marketer named Eben Pagan. And he was operating this massive dating advice business under the pen name David D'Angelo, right?
Yeah, his primary site was called Double Your Dating.
Okay.
And the structural approach he took to that business, it was entirely counterintuitive to how most entrepreneurs operate.
How so?
Well, usually when someone wants to launch a business, they assume they need a massive, comprehensive flagship product.
Like a giant course.
Right, exactly. They spend 6 months filming a 50-hour masterclass or writing a 300-page encyclopedia.
Hoping that volume equals value.
Yes. They think sheer volume is what convinces someone to hand over their email or their money, but Pagan took the exact opposite route.
He went small.
He didn't offer a massive compendium up front. Instead, he isolated a microscopic, highly specific solution to a burning, visceral pain point for his target demographic.
And that specific pain point was, literally, how do I know if a woman is actually ready to be kissed?
Think about the emotional weight of that specific problem, though.
It's terrifying.
Right. For a single man navigating the dating world, it represents a moment of extreme anxiety. There's a high potential for social rejection, massive uncertainty.
Yeah, totally.
It is a high-stakes emotional bottleneck. So Pagan engineered a lead magnet called The Secrets Most Men Will Never Know About Women.
Wow. Okay.
And the core hook driving people to opt in was this so-called kiss test.
So wait, someone was making $20 million a year off a tiny problem like a kiss. I mean, how did the original architect of these funnel concepts even figure out how Pagan was doing it?
Through a process known in the industry as funnel hacking.
Okay, for those who haven't heard that term before, what does funnel hacking actually entail? It sounds, I don't know, slightly nefarious.
It isn't nefarious at all, actually. It's essentially just competitive research and reverse engineering.
Okay.
Funnel hacking is the process of strategically investigating your competitors' sales and marketing processes. You actually opt into their pages, you know?
Become their customer.
Exactly. You buy their entry-level products, you read the emails they send you, and you map out the exact sequence they use to acquire and ascend a customer.
So you're not stealing.
No, you aren't stealing their content at all. You are analyzing their architecture.
Right, how they built the machine.
In this specific case, the individual analyzing Pagan's success had to literally call his wife to explain why he was suddenly putting his email address into a Double Your Dating website.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Honey, it's for research, I swear.
Exactly. But he was just trying to reverse engineer how this guy was generating $20 million a year from what appeared to be an incredibly simple webpage.
And the crazy part is, when he finally put his email in, he was expecting this massive, complicated, heavily produced formula. But the KISS test was only 2 paragraphs long.
It was literally 5 sentences.
5 sentences.
But those 5 sentences were effective because they fundamentally solved the problem immediately.
His whole point.
That is the true metric of a successful lead magnet. It is not measured in page count or video length, It is measured by the precision and speed of the solution.
Right.
It has to pull a prospect out of a specific pain state they are currently experiencing.
which perfectly transitions into another strategic philosophy highlighted in the chapter, this time from a marketer named Myron Golden.
Yes, Golden's approach is brilliant here.
He has a very specific stance on how to frame these offers, right? He says you should always focus on pulling people away from pain rather than pushing them toward pleasure.
That philosophy is anchored in a heavily researched cognitive bias. It's known as loss aversion.
Right. I've heard of that.
Behavioral economists have proven time and time again that human beings are fundamentally more motivated by the desire to avoid pain, loss, or humiliation than they are by the desire to gain an equivalent amount of pleasure or success.
So we're more scared of losing $100 than we are excited to find $100.
Exactly. And Golden's strategy essentially weaponizes loss aversion for the lead magnet.
So instead of a lead magnet titled 12 Ways to Be More Successful in Business, he suggests framing it around the negative space, the mistakes.
Right. The 12 biggest mistakes your market is making, or the 7 biggest mistakes real estate agents make.
Or like the 8 mistakes ruining your weight loss journey.
Precisely.
I mean, I feel that anxiety just hearing those titles. If I'm a real estate agent and I see that, my brain instantly loops into, wait, am I making those mistakes? Are those mistakes costing me commissions right now?
You feel exposed.
I do.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to know what they are so I can stop. It feels urgent. It pulls me away from the pain of failure.
It completely bypasses the logical brain that says, I don't have time to read a PDF today. And it triggers the primal brain that says, I need to ensure my survival in this specific domain.
That is the power of pain-based framing. But framing isn't just about the words you use, right? It is also about the visual and conceptual packaging.
Yes, the visual representation is critical.
This blew my mind. The research details a concept called the packaging secret. They analyze how the exact same product, like literally identical content, can be given 2 completely different titles and graphical covers to attract entirely different segments of an audience.
Right, the example they use is a compilation of marketing strategies.
Yeah. The dual packaging of the Marketing Secrets Black Book versus the Marketing Secrets Binge Guide.
It's the exact same document.
It's the exact same, but the visual presentation completely alters the perceived value.
How so?
Well, the Black Book is designed to look like a mysterious, exclusive, classified manual. It appeals to people who want insider secrets, who want to feel like they're getting access to restricted knowledge.
Right, the secret sauce.
Exactly. But the Binge Guide, on the other hand, is designed with the aesthetic of a streaming service. It appeals to people who want to consume content rapidly, who want entertainment mixed with their education.
It just goes to show how much the framing and the aesthetic of the free value matters. It alters the context in which the information is received.
Definitely.
Think about it. If you hand someone a loose stack of printer paper, they value it as scrap. If you take that exact same paper and bind it in leather, they treat it as a sacred text.
Oh, wow, that's a great way to look at it.
The packaging tells the prospect how they should feel about the information before they even consume a single word of it.
I see the psychological power of this, but okay, let's unpack this for a second because I have to push back on the underlying business logic here.
Okay, let's hear it.
If I'm giving away my absolute best secrets for free, like the literal answer to the most burning question my audience has, aren't I cannibalizing my own business?
That's a very common fear.
Right. Why would a customer ever pull out their credit card and buy my course or my coaching or my software if I just gave them the solution for free?
It's understandable to feel that way, but it operates on a fundamental misunderstanding of how authority works.
Okay, explain that.
Providing immense, actionable value for free does not satisfy their need for you. It actually amplifies it because it proves your competence.
It proves I can actually help them.
Exactly. It establishes an undeniable baseline of authority. The prospect consciously or subconsciously thinks, man, if this is what they give away for free, what on earth is behind the paywall?
Right.
They wonder, how transformative is their premium material?
Okay, yeah, I think I understand the mechanism there. It's like giving someone the most incredible appetizer they've ever tasted.
Right.
They don't eat the appetizer, stand up and say, well, I'm full, time to go home. The quality of that first bite makes them demand to see the entree menu. They trust the chef now.
A perfect analogy. The appetizer builds the trust required to invest in the 5-course meal.
Makes total sense.
Furthermore, creating this lead magnet doesn't require a grueling 6-month creative hibernation.
You don't have to write a novel.
Right. The strategy emphasizes that you can leverage curation over creation. You can simply compile existing examples.
Which is exactly what a swipe file is.
Yes. A swipe file is historically a concept from the advertising world. Copywriters would keep physical folders full of top-performing ads, sales letters, and headlines.
And they would just swipe them.
They would swipe them for inspiration when writing new campaigns, exactly. In the digital age, a swipe file is just a curated collection of proven examples.
You don't even have to invent the strategies.
No, you just have to do the legwork of finding them and organizing them for your audience. In fact, the source material for our deep dive today is actually based on a massive compiled swipe file of successful lead funnels.
Oh, right. And if you don't want to curate examples, you can curate people, right?
Absolutely.
You can find an expert who has achieved something incredible in your field, sit them down for a 20-minute interview, and offer that audio recording or transcript as your lead magnet.
Because, again, the objective is not to provide a comprehensive university-level education.
Right.
The objective is to capture their attention, instantly prove your value, and secure the exchange of their contact information so the relationship can proceed.
So if you are listening and you want to create a lead magnet this weekend, the mandate is super clear. Do not overthink the production value.
Do not overthink it.
Focus relentlessly on one massive, urgent pain point your audience is experiencing right now, and just offer a specific bite-sized solution.
Yep.
It could be a swipe file, a compiled list of your favorite software tools, a short interview, or even just 5 sentences, if those 5 sentences solve the problem perfectly.
But having the perfect lead magnet is only the first variable in the equation.
Right. What's next?
Once you have this incredible free asset, your KISS test, your black book, your interview, you cannot just leave a link to it lying around randomly on a blog post or in a social media bio.
That won't work.
No, you need a specific, highly controlled environment designed for one singular purpose: the psychological exchange of value.
Which brings us to the second phase of the architecture, the landing page.
Historically, in the early days of direct response internet marketing, this was referred to as the squeeze page.
The squeeze page. That sounds slightly aggressive.
It does sound aggressive, but it perfectly illustrates the mechanical function of the page. It was designed to literally squeeze the email address out of the visitor by acting as a rigid gateway.
Okay, I get the visual.
You cannot see what is on the other side, you cannot browse the website, you cannot read the articles until you pay the toll.
And the toll is your email address.
Exactly.
It's a barter system. Your highly valuable information in exchange for their contact info, with the mutual, unspoken understanding that you will be communicating with them in the future.
Right.
But when we look at the anatomy of a truly successful landing page in Chapter 2, it defies almost all conventional web design wisdom.
This is where we run into the rule of simplicity, which is deeply tied to cognitive load theory.
Cognitive load, okay.
If you look at the highest converting landing pages analyzed in this strategy, they break virtually every rule of what traditional agencies consider professional web design.
Right. I've looked at these pages and they have almost nothing on them.
Nothing.
It's usually just 3 elements. There is a curiosity-inducing headline presenting a problem, a compelling picture or graphical representation of the product, like a 3D rendering of the black book we discussed earlier.
Yes.
And an opt-in form. First name, email, submit button. That's it.
To understand why this minimalist approach is mandatory, we have to look at the financial mathematics that make capturing this email address so vital.
Why are we so obsessed with this one page?
Exactly. Why are we so obsessed with the conversion rate of this specific page? The research outlines an industry benchmark that is the financial anchor of this entire strategy.
Let's hear the math.
It's earning an average of $1 per month per name on your email list.
Let's really stress test this math because it sounds almost too clean.
It does.
$1 per month per name. Does this metric hold up? If I have 10,000 people on my list, is that list realistically generating $10,000 a month in revenue? If I scale to 150,000 people, am I making $150,000 a month?
It is a benchmark, an average derived across multiple industries over decades of data, but it is highly dependent on list hygiene, engagement, and the quality of your follow-up, which we will cover later.
Okay, so it's a baseline.
Yes, as a working baseline, that is the valuation of an owned audience. This is fundamentally different from a rented audience on social media, where an algorithm decides if your followers see your content.
Right. You don't own your Instagram followers.
Exactly. An email list is a compounding owned asset. You can broadcast a message and instantly generate revenue. That is why optimizing the landing page to capture as many leads as possible is the highest leverage activity in the business.
Okay, so if the math is that lucrative, I want to use an analogy to understand the design. Let's imagine the traditional website as a shoe store.
I like this.
When I walk into a shoe store, I want to look around, browse the aisles, check out the running shoes, maybe look at some boots. A traditional website with a navigation menu, an About Us page, a blog, and social media links allows me to do that.
Right.
But a landing page isn't a store. It's more like a salesperson who intercepts me at the door, refuses to let me inside, and shoves one very specific pair of shoes in my face, demanding I try them on.
That's pretty accurate.
Isn't that a terrible user experience? Shouldn't a good modern web page have a navigation menu at the top to build trust? Maybe some links to recent press, and definitely social media icons so they can see I'm a real person?
Your shoe store analogy is perfect for illustrating why traditional websites fail at lead generation.
Really?
Yes. When you introduce a navigation menu, an About Me section, and social media links, you believe you are building trust. But neurologically, you are introducing massive cognitive friction.
Cognitive friction.
This taps into the paradox of choice, a concept popularized by psychology's Barry Schwartz.
Oh, how does the paradox of choice apply to a web page?
It's the famous jam experiment. Researchers set up a tasting booth in a grocery store. When they offered consumers 24 flavors of jam to sample, it generated a lot of foot traffic.
Everyone wants to try jam.
Right, but only 3% of people actually bought a jar. When they reduced the display to just 6 flavors, foot traffic dropped slightly, but sales skyrocketed by 600%.
Because 24 choices paralyze the brain, but 6 choices make the decision manageable.
Exactly. Now apply that to a web page. Every single hyperlink on your page is a jar of jam.
Oh, wow.
Every social media icon, every blog category, every About Us link is a competing choice. Giving people too many options paralyzes decision-making, increases their cognitive load, and plummets your conversion rates. If you give them an Instagram icon at the bottom of the page,
If they click that Instagram icon, they are completely gone. They are scrolling reels for the next hour. Their brain gets flooded with dopamine from short-form videos, and they have completely forgotten about my lead magnet, my business, and the pain point they were trying to solve 10 minutes ago.
precisely, a landing page must have a singular, crystal clear, unavoidable goal.
A toll booth.
Right. You are not inviting them to browse your digital living room. You are inviting them to make a specific binary transaction. Yes or no. You have to tell them exactly what to do.
And nothing else.
The simpler the page, the more the curiosity of the headline is forced into focus, and the more undeniable the single goal becomes.
So the practical takeaway from the landing page is to act as a ruthless editor. Go and audit your own website or your project's opt-in page right now. Strip away the distractions.
Yes, kill your darlings.
If your page has more than one clear action for the user to take, you are actively leaking potential leads and, by extension, future revenue. Keep it to a headline that piques curiosity, a visual hook that grounds the product in reality, and a box for their email. Squeeze the page down to its absolute essence.
Because once they make that binary decision, once they type in their email address and click that submit button, a massive psychological shift occurs.
Oh yeah, they transition from a casual browser to an active participant.
Yes, they have literally just handed over their contact information. This is the most dangerous moment in the entire funnel.
By dangerous.
They are at their absolute most vulnerable, but also their most expectant. They are anticipating the immediate relief to their pain point. What you do in the next 5 seconds dictates whether they become a lifelong brand evangelist or if they feel completely violated, scammed, and immediately hunt for the unsubscribe button.
So how do you bridge that gap without losing them?
You have to master the third phase of the architecture, the thank you page.
The thank you page feels like an afterthought for most people, right? It's usually just, thanks for subscribing, check your inbox.
Treating it as an afterthought is a massive strategic error. The core psychological mandate of the thank you page is twofold.
Okay, what are they?
First, you must fulfill the promise immediately to solidify the baseline trust you just asked for. Second, you must simultaneously introduce the next logical step in their journey with you while they are in a state of peak momentum.
Let's talk about that first part, fulfilling the promise.
Yeah.
The chapter highlights a massive danger here, which is the bait and switch.
It is the quickest, most efficient way to destroy a relationship before it even begins.
Yeah.
We discussed the anxiety that early internet users felt putting their email into that dating site. That anxiety still exists today. Consumers are hyper aware of spam and data privacy. If they overcome that anxiety, give you their email, and the very next page says, "Thanks. Now, before you get your free PDF, buy my $97 masterclass," the trust is irreparably shattered.
Because you held the lead magnet hostage. You broke the implicit contract of the squeeze page.
Precisely. You have introduced post-opt-in dissonance. You must actually deliver the asset you promised immediately, without friction.
Deliver the KISS test.
Deliver the KISS test. Deliver the swipe file. However, and this is the crucial pivot where amateur marketers fail, you do not just give them the file and say goodbye.
Right.
The strategy explores a specific framework used by a marketer named Brian Moran in his funnel for the Going Pro Manifesto.
How does Moran handle this transition?
Moran delivers the digital download instantly, right at the top of the thank you page. He fulfills the promise. The trust is cemented.
Okay.
But directly below that download button, he implements what we call a next step strategy. He has a highly visible button that says Step 2, how to get your first 1,000 fans in 7 days.
So he closes one psychological loop, getting the manifesto, and immediately opens a new, highly related psychological loop, getting the fans.
Exactly. And the beauty of this is that the next step doesn't even have to be a monetary transaction if you are just starting out.
Where else could it be?
You can ask for a different currency, such as the currency of attention. For instance, in the funnel for the Marketing Secrets Black Book, the user downloads the book at the top of the page, and the next step below it simply asks them to subscribe to a related podcast.
The behavioral psychology here is brilliant. Because you just gave them a win, you delivered the lead magnet without friction, they are biologically primed.
Yes, their brain has just received a hit of dopamine.
Right, from acquiring something valuable for free. They feel good about you.
They are in a state of behavioral momentum. They took an action by opting in, they received a positive reward via the lead magnet, and now they are highly receptive to taking another action, provided it logically follows the first one.
This is exactly like a masterful waiter at a high-end restaurant. Think about it.
Okay, let's hear it.
You order this amazing, complex appetizer. The waiter brings it out. The presentation is incredible. You are thrilled. You're experiencing peak anticipation. But right as they set it down on the table, while you're in that heightened state, they casually mention, by the way, the chef's special entree tonight pairs absolutely perfectly with the flavor profile of what you're about to eat.
That analogy perfectly isolates the mechanism of momentum. The waiter isn't forcing you to buy the entree.
No, they're just offering.
Right. They are capitalizing on your elevated state of satisfaction to suggest the next logical ascension in your dining experience. The thank you page acts as the structural bridge between the free value you just provided and the future monetization of that relationship.
So the non-negotiable rule for the thank you page is this.
Yeah.
Never, ever leave it as a digital dead end. Yes, absolutely deliver the free goodie immediately. Never hold it hostage behind a paywall.
Never hold it hostage.
But always, relentlessly, provide a clear, logical next step. Whether that's a paid product, registering for a web class, or just subscribing to your YouTube channel. You have to capture and direct that dopamine momentum.
Because if you do have a paid product strategically positioned as that next step, clicking that button transports the prospect to the fourth phase of our architecture.
Okay, let's go there.
And this phase fundamentally changes the economics of your entire business.
We are entering the deep waters now. If they click that next step button, they go to phase 4, the sales page. And this is where the ultimate financial alchemy of the lead funnel is revealed. We are talking about the mechanics of the self-liquidating offer, or the SLO.
This is a concept that aggressively challenges traditional business operators.
How so?
The core philosophy here is that the sales page immediately following a free opt-in is not necessarily designed to make you rich. It is not designed to generate massive net profit today.
That sounds crazy for a business.
It exists for one specific, ruthless mathematical purpose, to recoup the cost of your advertising, so you can acquire leads for free.
Okay, I get the theoretical math behind a self-liquidating offer. Breaking even on day one is the holy grail of direct response marketing.
It is.
But in a landscape where ad costs on platforms like Facebook and Google are skyrocketing every single quarter, is a low-ticket front-end product realistically going to liquidate a massive cost per acquisition? Let's break down the math on this to see if it holds up.
Let's run a hypothetical scenario based on the book. Let's say you are buying ads on a major social platform. You spend $100 on an ad campaign, and that drives enough traffic to your landing page to get you 100 leads.
Okay.
Your cost per lid, or CPL, is exactly $1.
Okay, so I'm $100 in the hole to Mark Zuckerberg. But I have 100 emails.
Correct. Now, out of those 100 people who just opted in and landed on your thank you page, let's say a small fraction of them are highly motivated. Let's say just 5% of them click the next step button and end up buying a low-ticket product from you on the subsequent sales page.
Okay, so just 5 people out of 100.
Right. And let's say the product is priced at $10.
So 5 people buy a $10 product. That generates $50 in gross revenue.
But you spent $100 on the advertising to get them there.
Right, so I am still in the hole. I lost $50. If I scale that, I go bankrupt.
Under traditional metrics, yes, you took a loss on the front end, but this is where the optimization phase begins. The goal of the funnel architect is to tweak those variables.
How do you fix that math?
You improve the copy on the sales page to increase the conversion rate from 5% to 10%. Or you introduce an order bump, a small $10 add-on at checkout to raise your average order value from $10 to $20.
Oh, I see.
You iterate until that initial transaction covers the ad spend. If you spend $100 to get 100 leads and you optimize the funnel so that 10 of them buy a $10 product, you have made your $100 back.
You broke even. The revenue matches the ad spend.
You broke even financially, but look at what you gained structurally. You just acquired 100 leads, 100 email addresses for an absolute net cost of 0.
Wow.
Your funnel is now self-liquidating. The front-end product absorbed the shock of the advertising costs.
Which means your leads are functionally free. And this is where the scale becomes terrifyingly powerful. The research points out that once you achieve this break-even point, whether it happens on day 1 or through automated follow-up on day 3 or day 5, you can scale almost infinitely.
Infinitely.
There are examples of businesses acquiring 1,700 leads a day. Why? Because the funnel is paying the ad platforms for you. You effectively have an infinite marketing budget because every dollar you put into the advertising machine comes right back out on the sales page. But it leaves behind a massive trail of free leads.
And this raises a critical logistical question for individuals who are just starting out.
Yeah, what if you don't have a product?
Exactly. What if you do not have a product to sell yet? What if you don't have a $10 ebook or a $20 mini course? How do you liquidate your ad costs if you have nothing to offer on the sales page?
The strategy provides a brilliant workaround for this: affiliate marketing.
Exactly. You do not have to spend 6 months locked in a room building a product from scratch. You can leverage an affiliate link.
Just use someone else's product.
You find a software platform, a physical product, or a course created by someone else that you genuinely use and believe in, and you offer that on your sales page.
But why would they buy it from me instead of just going directly to the software's website?
That is where you construct a unique bonus offer.
Oh.
To incentivize them to buy through your specific affiliate link, you offer a free, highly relevant custom bonus that you can create quickly. If you purchase the software through my link today, I will personally email you the exact templates I use within the software, completely free.
So you make the deal sweeter.
You add value to an existing product to capture the affiliate commission, which then liquidates your ad spend.
It's an incredibly agile way to build a business, but I have to ask the overarching question that challenges traditional business education.
Shoot.
Why go through all this trouble if the goal of the sales page is just to break even? If I'm not making a profit on this sale, what is the point of the business?
To understand this, we have to look at a famous maxim from direct response marketing legend Dan Kennedy. He says, "He who can spend the most to acquire a customer wins."
Interesting.
It requires a paradigm shift in how you view customer lifetime value. The massive profit in this model does not reside in the initial $10 transaction. The real money is in the long-term relationship you are building with that list of free leads.
Because of the benchmark we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
$1 per name per month.
Precisely. If your competitors are relying on organic traffic, or they can only afford to spend $5 to acquire a lead because they have no funnel to recoup the costs, their growth is severely capped.
Right.
But if your self-liquidating funnel allows you to spend $100, $500, or $1,000 to acquire a customer and still break even on day 1, you will completely dominate your market. You will buy all the available advertising inventory, outbid everyone, and amass a massive proprietary list.
And then what?
The profit comes from the back end, the high-ticket consulting, the recurring software subscriptions, the subsequent product launches, sold to that massive list over time, not the first sale.
So the non-negotiable takeaway for the sales page is to design your first paid offer or your first affiliate offer, not as a massive high-margin cash grab, but simply as a tactical mechanism to cover your acquisition costs.
Just cover the costs.
If you are productless today, become an affiliate for something you deeply believe in, attach a unique high-value bonus to it, and make the machine pay for itself.
However, we must address the reality of the mathematics we just laid out.
Uh-oh, what's the catch?
If you optimize your funnel and 10% of people buy on that first day to liquidate your ad spend, we are still left with a glaring issue.
What happens to the other 90%? What happens to the 90 people out of the 100 who enthusiastically took your free lead magnet but looked at your sales page and decided not to pull out their credit card today? Are they just gone forever?
Absolutely not. And that brings us to the fifth, final, and arguably most sophisticated phase of the entire architecture, the follow-up funnel.
So you have captured the lead, you delivered the free value, and you made a front-end sale to a small percentage to break even. Now, we have to deal with the vast majority of your audience.
Right.
The core concept here is automating multi-channel communication to continuously build the relationship, provide ongoing value, and slowly ascend the customer up your value ladder over time.
In the primitive days of internet marketing, this was simply called an email autoresponder.
It's just a sequence of emails.
A sequential list of pre-written emails. But the strategy makes it very clear that the modern follow-up funnel has evolved exponentially. It is no longer restricted to the inbox. It is an omni-channel strategy.
The framework maps out a highly aggressive, multi-touch sequence. We aren't talking about a polite newsletter sent out on the first of the month.
No, not at all.
It details a specific automation sequence designed to surround the prospect. Day 0, they opt in, and the system delivers the free email containing the lead magnet. But then on day 2, they might receive a text message from you checking in on their progress. On day 4, a secondary email attack exploring a different angle of their pain point. On day 5, a direct message on Facebook or a desktop push notification. You are intentionally meeting the prospect where they already spend their time across multiple devices and platforms.
And this is where the back-end technology becomes incredibly sophisticated, bordering on hyper-surveillance if not used ethically.
Okay, this part of the chapter felt like reading a cyberpunk novel, but this is real software that exists right now. Let's unpack this RFMS action score. What is actually happening behind the scenes when a stranger types their email into your simple little landing page?
When an email address is entered into a modern enterprise-grade follow-up system, the software does not just passively store that text in a database.
So does it do?
It actively deploys data-appending protocols. It searches the internet, public databases, and social media platforms to construct a comprehensive digital footprint matching that specific email address.
So it's scraping the web to figure out who I am.
Essentially, yes. It locates their public Facebook profile, it determines how many followers they have on Instagram or Twitter, it looks at their overall digital presence and demographic data.
Wow.
And based on that aggregate data, combined with how they interact with your emails, the system assigns the lead an internal action score based on 4 specific metrics: recency, frequency, monetary value, and social influence. RFMS.
Let's break those down. Recency and frequency, that's about how they interact with my specific content, right?
Correct. Recency tracks exactly how many hours or days it has been since they last opened an email, clicked a link, or logged into a portal.
And frequency.
Frequency tracks the volume of those interactions. Do they open every single email within 5 minutes, or do they only engage once a month?
Then there's monetary value. Does the software know how much money they make?
Not their personal salary, no, but it tracks their exact lifetime spend within your specific business ecosystem. Have they bought a $10 product? Or have they spent $10,000 on high-ticket consulting over the last 2 years?
And finally, the S, social influence. This is the wild part. The software actually knows if the person who just downloaded my free PDF is a college student with 0 online presence or an industry influencer with 100,000 highly engaged Twitter followers.
Exactly. It quantifies their social reach.
Okay, I have to interject here. As a consumer, hearing this makes me intensely aware of my digital footprint.
It's eye-opening.
The landing page felt like a simple exchange. I give you my email, you give me a PDF. But the follow-up funnel is pulling my social profiles, tracking my clicks, and assigning me a literal score based on my behavior. How do we use this incredible amount of data and signal without just blasting them across 5 different channels and completely burning out the list?
That is the core challenge of modern marketing: signal versus noise. The RFMS score is not designed to help you spam people more effectively.
What is it for then?
It is designed to facilitate hyper-personalization. The reason this data is so critical is because it proves a fundamental truth in business. Not all leads are created equal.
The 80-20 rule or the Pareto principle?
Exactly. If you are operating blindly, you might burn yourself out trying to manually nurture a list of 10,000 people with the exact same generic messaging.
Which is exhausting.
But by utilizing the RFMS score, you can instantly filter your database to identify the top 1%, your whales. You can identify the leads who have exceptionally high social influence, who open every single email, which is high frequency, and who have bought from you before, high monetary.
And once you identify that 1%, you treat them differently. You don't send them the generic $10 product pitch.
Precisely. You serve them at the highest possible level. You might trigger an automation that sends them a personal, plain text email inviting them to a private mastermind group or a high-ticket one-on-one consulting package.
So you focus your energy.
The software identifies your most valuable relationships so you can deploy your limited personal energy where it yields the highest return.
But to fuel this entire omnichannel machine, to have enough touch points to even generate an accurate recency and frequency score, you have to be communicating constantly. Which brings us to the final mandate of the strategy, the publishing mandate.
You cannot have a highly functional follow-up funnel without a massive amount of fuel. And the fuel for this engine is content marketing.
What about content?
The strategy dictates that you must be publishing content daily, whether that is recording podcasts, hosting Facebook Live sessions, writing deep dive blogs, or filming YouTube videos.
Because if your 5-day automated email sequence is just buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, they are going to unsubscribe by day 3.
Exactly. The omnichannel follow-up is merely the distribution network for your daily publishing.
Give me an example.
You send a text message that says, hey, I just recorded a 10-minute video explaining exactly how to fix that pain point we talked about. Click here to watch it. You are constantly providing value, constantly proving your authority, and embedding soft pitches for your products within that valuable content.
So the actionable mandate for the follow-up funnel is to stop relying on a single point of failure. If you are solely relying on a generic monthly newsletter, you are incredibly vulnerable to aggressive spam filters and plummeting open rates.
Very vulnerable.
You need to map out an automated multi-day communication sequence utilizing at least 2 different mediums, such as email combined with SMS text messaging, to keep your brand top of mind, to distribute your daily published content, and to let the software do the heavy lifting of identifying your best customers.
Because mastering that follow-up sequence is how you transition a one-time lead who grabbed a free PDF into a lifelong customer who slowly ascends your entire value ladder over years.
So when we zoom out and look at this entire ecosystem,
Yeah,
what does this all mean? We've covered a massive amount of ground today.
we really have.
We can see clearly now that a lead funnel isn't just a clever web design trick or a piece of software. It is a masterclass in human behavioral psychology that has been perfectly encoded into a scalable digital framework.
It is the systemic transition from hoping people organically find your business to mathematically engineering the growth of your audience and your revenue.
It is an automated machine that systematically attracts a complete stranger by offering a highly targeted lead magnet to pull them out of pain. It captures their contact info via a ruthless, distraction-free landing page that leverages the paradox of choice.
Right.
It builds immediate biological trust by fulfilling the promise and capturing dopamine momentum on a thank you page. It liquidates your advertising costs by presenting a logical next step on a sales page, making your customer acquisition functionally free.
Functionally free.
And finally, it cultivates a lifelong, deeply personalized relationship through a sophisticated, data-driven follow-up funnel. It truly is the structural soul of modern digital business.
The architecture is sound. The psychology is proven. The only variable left is execution.
Now that you understand the theory and the strategy behind this 5-step machine, the only question left is how to actually build it without needing an advanced degree in computer science or $1 million development budget.
Which is the fun part.
And that is exactly what we will uncover when we explore the implementation phase in our next deep dive. Until then, I want you to think about this. If software can already cross-reference your email, scan your social profiles, and assign you a literal value score based on your hidden digital footprint, how is that unseen data already dictating the marketing, the opportunities, and the reality you experience on your screens every single day? Keep questioning, keep learning, and we'll see you on the next deep dive. So, picture this. It is 2004, right?
Okay. Setting the scene. The dark ages of the internet.
Exactly. The absolute Wild West. And there is this single, incredibly simple web page. I'm talking like a plain white background, some basic black text, and one simple submit button. That is it.
Nothing fancy at
It's
all.
nothing. No massive software engineering team, no venture capital, no fancy design agency. But this one page was practically printing $20 million a year in revenue.
Which is just, it is staggering to even think about. It sounds mathematically
And
impossible.
it really does. But the secret wasn't the code. It was a psychological hook based on this thing called the KISS test. And today, for this deep dive, our entire mission is to basically reverse engineer that exact web page.
Yeah, we are going to look under the hood of what is known as a lead funnel.
Right, because we have a stack of sources here that map out this exact five-step architecture. And this is the blueprint used by everyone from, solo freelancers to massive scaling enterprises.
And it isn't just about collecting email addresses. That is just the surface.
Uh-huh.
It is about automating trust, literally liquidating your advertising costs on day one, and building this highly profitable audience.
Exactly. So if you're trying to survive in the modern digital economy, understanding the psychology and the actual math of this system, it is completely non-negotiable.
It really is the baseline.
Yeah.
And I think the contrast between how simple that 2004 webpage looked and the $20 million in revenue, that is what makes this whole concept so counterintuitive for people.
Because we just assume complexity equals money, right?
Exactly. We look at the digital landscape today and think, well, to make real money, I need this sprawling website with interactive menus, polished corporate videos, a massive product catalog.
Right, a whole corporate production.
But the sources we are looking at today, they just dismantle that assumption completely. The true financial engine of an online business is rarely the public homepage. It is this highly controlled, psychologically sequenced pathway.
Which is fascinating.
Yeah.
But to really understand why this pathway works so well today, we kind of have to rewind and look at the environment that forced it to be invented in the first place.
Oh, the digital arms race.
Yes, the arms race. Because
Yeah.
if we go back to the late 90s, early 2000s, the main way businesses got your email address was the pop-up ad. And we aren't talking about, a polite little banner at the bottom of the screen.
No. We are talking about aggressive browser hijacking windows. You would click a link and suddenly 14 windows would launch at once and literally freeze your computer.
Oh, man, it was the absolute worst.
Yeah.
So intrusive.
It really was the peak of interruption marketing. But you have to understand why marketers did it. They realized very early on that an email list was an incredible asset because it had a near zero marginal cost of distribution.
Right. Once you have the email, you can market to them forever for free.
Exactly. You could broadcast your message infinitely. So the financial incentive to capture that email was just astronomical. They would use these incredibly hostile tactics, forcing sweepstakes or free reports in front of you, literally blocking the article you were trying to read.
Which obviously led to a massive consumer revolt.
Yeah.
I mean, people were furious.
Oh, completely. And that is when the pop-up blocker was invented.
Right. And according to our sources, the pop-up blocker wasn't just a convenient software update. It was a consumer rebellion. When browsers started building those blockers right into the software, an entire generation of digital businesses they watched their lead generation drop to zero overnight.
Because the technology of interruption was neutralized, the toll booth they had built was completely destroyed.
So what happens then? How do they pivot?
Well, they had to change the entire psychology of how they acquired customers. They could no longer just force their way onto your screen. They had to transition into what we call permission marketing.
Meaning you actually have to want to give them your email?
Exactly. If you can't hijack the browser, you have to create a destination that the user voluntarily chooses to enter. And this is what led to the invention of the squeeze page.
Okay, so a squeeze page, instead of floating an ad over the website, they just replaced the homepage entirely with a single gate, right?
Right. The web page itself became the offer. You had to give them your email address before they would reveal any underlying content at all.
But wait, let me push back on that a little. Because from the user's perspective, weren't squeeze pages initially just as annoying as pop-ups? Why did consumers accept this new toll booth model? I mean, spam was rampant back then.
Oh, they were incredibly suspicious. The friction associated with typing your real email address into a random box on the internet was very, very high.
Right, because if I am searching for a recipe or an article, and I hit a page demanding my contact info just to see it, my instinct is to immediately hit the back button.
And that is exactly what happened at first. So to overcome that friction, the offer had to evolve. It couldn't just be a basic toll booth anymore. It had to become a high-value exchange.
Okay, so the prospect has to consciously decide that whatever information is behind that gate is worth the risk of getting spammed.
Precisely. The calculus of that value exchange is the foundation of everything we are talking about today. You couldn't just demand a transaction anymore.
It is kind of like, well, it is like the difference between a salesperson kicking down your front door versus setting up this beautiful storefront window. You choose to walk inside and introduce yourself because the display is just so enticing.
That is a perfect analogy. The friction of opting in has to be completely overpowered by the gravity of the offer.
Which brings us right back to that $20 million webpage. Let's really break down the mechanics of this business because it is wild. It was created by a guy named Eben Pagan, writing under the pen named David D'Angelo.
Right. His target demographic was single men who were experiencing extreme anxiety and frustration around dating.
So when these guys navigated to his URL, they didn't see a blog. They didn't see a catalog of books. They just saw this single page offering a free report called The Secrets Most Men Will Never Know About Women.
But the real hook, the specific thing designed to overpower their hesitation, was the promise of learning this thing called the KISS test.
Yes, the KISS test. Let's talk about the psychology there because it is brilliant.
It really is. It addresses a deeply visceral human fear, which is the fear of rejection.
Oh, absolutely.
The KISS test was positioned as this definitive, foolproof guide to reading a situation. It promised to teach you exactly when a romantic partner was ready to be kissed.
Meaning it completely eliminates the anxiety of making an unwanted advance and totally embarrassing yourself.
Exactly. And let's analyze why that converts so insanely well. If the report had just been titled, how to be more confident on a date, it probably would have failed.
Right, because confidence is this vague, moving toward pleasure kind of goal.
Exactly. But the KISS test is a hyper-specific tool designed to instantly neutralize an acute pain point. It leverages loss aversion.
The guy reading it isn't just trying to have a fun day. He is desperately trying to avoid the intense emotional pain of misreading the situation.
Right. So when he is faced with that simple email opt-in box, his internal monologue is weighing the mild annoyance of potential spam against the immediate relief of never having to guess if a date is going well ever again.
And the pain avoidance wins easily.
Yeah.
Every time.
Every time. And that is exactly why the author of our source material went to such great length to study this specific funnel. There's this hilarious narrative in the text where the author realizes he needs to reverse engineer Pagan's system.
Oh, the funnel hacking story. Yes, tell us.
So he decides he needs to do what the industry calls funnel hacking. He wants to go through the entire customer journey step by step just to see how the system reacts.
But because the fear of internet spam was still very real back then, and because he had just gotten married,
he actually calls his wife. He calls her to explicitly explain, like, honey, I'm about to submit my personal email to a How to Pick Up Women website, but I promise it is strictly for market research.
which is so funny, but it really highlights how serious giving out your email felt at the time. It was a major commitment.
It really was. So he types in his email, he clicks submit, and the facade falls away. He discovers what the source defines as the iceberg principle.
The iceberg principle. Let's dig into that.
So that simple landing page offering the KISS test, that was just the visible tip of the iceberg breaking the surface of the water. It wasn't the actual business.
It was just the intake valve.
Exactly. The actual economic engine was entirely submerged. Once his email was in the system, they didn't just send him a PDF and forget about him.
Right. He was entered into this meticulously sequenced ecosystem. Over the next few days, weeks, months, he is receiving these highly targeted communications.
First, he is offered a $20 ebook, then a $100 audio course. Eventually, he is getting invited to these multi-$1,000 live seminars.
So the $20 million wasn't coming from some magic landing page at all. It was coming from the automated back-end architecture nurturing those leads.
Precisely. And this principle, it fundamentally changes how you have to analyze any successful competitor in your space.
How so? Like, what are people doing wrong when they look at competitors?
Well, people look at a highly successful company and they try to mimic them by copying the visual design of their homepage. They're just copying the tip of the iceberg.
They see a sleek website and think, oh, I need a sleek website.
Right. But they are ignoring the massive structural base beneath the water that actually keeps the whole thing afloat. To truly understand a business's mechanics, you have to actually enter their funnel.
You have to opt into their lists. You have to buy their cheap entry-level products just to see what happens next.
Yes. Map the sequence of their back-end offers. Because if you don't build that submerged portion of the iceberg, your business will just sink.
Okay, so mapping that submerged structure reveals this highly specific 5-stage architecture. And our source material breaks this down sequentially.
It does. It starts with the asset used to attract the prospect, which is the lead magnet. Then it moves to the landing page where the exchange happens. Then the thank you page, the sales page, and finally, the follow-up funnel.
And we are going to dissect the underlying mechanics of all 5 of these stages today. So let's start with step 1, the lead magnet. This is the tangible item of value you offer in exchange for their contact info.
Right. And we already touched on how Eben Pagan used the KISS test to target the fear of rejection. Our sources actually attribute this specific strategic framework to a marketer named Myron Golden.
Yes, Myron Golden. What is his main rule here?
He explicitly advises against building lead magnets that are centered on positive aspirations. His absolute mandate is to focus intensely on moving the prospect away from pain.
Which ties right back into behavioral economics, right?
Mm.
Humans are far more motivated by the threat of loss than the prospect of an equivalent gain.
Completely. Think about it in a business context. If you offer a lead magnet that promises to make a company 10% more efficient next year, the response will be pretty lukewarm.
Because it requires them to imagine this future state and weigh it against the effort they have to put in today.
Exactly. It is work.
Oh.
But if you offer a report that reveals the critical security flaw currently draining 10% of your revenue, that triggers an immediate visceral response.
It creates a psychological emergency. You have to know. Like, if you are a consultant trying to get real estate agents on your list, a lead magnet titled Strategies for a Better Open House is just weak. It is boring.
Very weak. Nobody cares.
The lead magnet titled The 7 Legal Mistakes Real Estate Agents Make That Instantly Kill Their Commissions.
Well, that creates an undeniable curiosity gap mixed with a lot of fear.
The agent has to know if they are making those mistakes. The pain of potentially losing a massive commission heavily outweighs the tiny friction of typing in their email address.
But here's the thing. Identifying the pain point is only half the battle. The other half is actually creating the asset itself. And I think a huge failure point for entrepreneurs is assuming that a valuable lead magnet takes months to make. Oh, people get so stuck here. They think they need to write a massive book or film a high-end production. But the source material counters this by introducing what they call the compilation strategy.
Okay, the compilation strategy. This is such a fascinating hack regarding perceived value. Walk us through how this works.
So the source gives an example of an author who wanted to build a list of marketing professionals. Instead of sitting down to write this dense theoretical textbook on marketing psychology, he just looked at his own internal data.
Right. He had already done the work.
Exactly. He had run hundreds of A/B split tests on his websites over the years to see which headlines and buttons converted better. So he just took 108 of those past tests, took screenshots of the winners and the losers, compiled them into a single PDF, and called it 108 proven split test winners.
That is brilliant. And there was another one, right? The funnel swipe file?
Yeah. In another instance, he literally just took screenshots of 74 different successful marketing funnels he found online, packaged them together, and called it the 74 funnel swipe file.
And we see this exact same logic mirrored in the B2B corporate sector too. The source cites a managed WordPress hosting company called Flywheel.
Right. And their target demographic isn't some hobbyist running one blog. It is a digital agency managing dozens of client websites.
And the massive pain point for an agency like that is just the sheer technical nightmare of keeping 50 different sites updated and secure. So Flywheel's lead magnet is an ebook called The Ultimate Guide to Managing 50-plus WordPress Sites.
Or look at PushPay. They are a software company targeting the religious sector. Their lead magnet is 27 plug-and-play Facebook ads for churches. They didn't invent some brand new marketing theory. They just curated existing successful templates.
Now, if we look at this critically, someone could argue that curation is just a lazy strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm a prospect, I could theoretically just spend my weekend scouring the internet, taking my own screenshots of 74 different funnels, right? I could build my own swipe file for free. So why am I willing to trade my personal contact information for something I could just do myself?
That is a great question. And the mechanism of value here relies entirely on the dynamics of the modern attention economy. We no longer live in a world where information is scarce.
Right, we are drowning in information.
We are operating in a landscape where time and attention are your most heavily constrained resources. By offering a curated compilation, you aren't selling the raw information, you are selling the elimination of labor.
You are basically selling the 40 hours of grueling, boring research that you already did.
Precisely. When the prospect looks at a title like the 74 funnel swipe file, their brain instantly calculates the sheer volume of effort it would take to assemble that data on their own.
And suddenly, the friction of typing in an email address becomes completely negligible compared to saving a whole weekend of work.
Curation, in an era of infinite noise, is actually a highly premium service. It signals to the prospect that you understand the value of their time, which establishes instant trust.
So the real operational takeaway here is that creating the entry point to your funnel should never be a massive bottleneck. You probably already have the raw material sitting on your hard drive.
You absolutely do. You could literally spend one afternoon reviewing your past client work, extracting the 5 most common critical errors you've had to fix, and packaging that as a simple diagnostic checklist.
You are just leveraging your existing expertise into a highly specific pain-relieving asset. But once you have that asset synthesized, it needs an environment to be deployed in. The prospect has to be directed to a specific location where the transaction can actually occur.
Which brings us to step 2, the landing page.
The landing page. And this is where the source material introduces a financial metric that, honestly, reframes the entire purpose of this architecture. It establishes a baseline benchmark. A properly monetized list should generate $1 per month per subscriber.
Let's really pause and isolate that metric because it fundamentally changes how a business views digital marketing.
It shifts collecting emails from just a vanity metric into a totally predictable economic model.
Exactly. If you engineer a system that successfully captures and nurtures 150,000 leads, your baseline expectation, assuming the back-end mechanics are functioning correctly, is $150,000 in monthly recurring revenue.
Every single month. Generated through various product offers, back-end services, affiliate promotions, whatever. You are mathematically engineering your own revenue floor based entirely on the volume of traffic you can convert on that single page.
Which means the conversion rate of your landing page is arguably the most sensitive variable in your entire business model.
So let's look at the case study the source highlights. It is a landing page for the Marketing Secrets Black Book. This single page captured 148,000 leads. But the really staggering data point is the conversion rate. It was 55.63%.
Which is unheard of. Over half of the human beings who loaded that web page voluntarily handed over their contact information.
In digital advertising, where average conversion rates usually hover in the low single digits, 55% is a statistical anomaly. So we have to deconstruct the mechanics of that specific page. What is required to compel more than half of cold traffic to take action?
According to the text, it boils down to 3 very rigid rules. Rule number 1. The page must be incredibly simple, often to the point of looking unfinished. Rule number 2. The headline and the visual must generate immense curiosity. And rule number 3. The call to action must be explicitly directive.
Let's analyze the psychology behind rule number 1, because I feel like this causes intense friction with brand managers and web designers.
Oh, it causes fights, constant fights. The instinct of any business is to project authority through complex, expensive design.
They want the high-resolution video backgrounds, the parallax scrolling, the drop-down menus explaining their corporate history, a footer full of 20 social media links.
But the data from the source indicates that ugly, hyper-simplistic pages consistently outconvert heavily designed pages.
And the underlying mechanism there is cognitive load, right?
Yes, cognitive load. When a user lands on a complex homepage, their brain has to instantly parse dozens of competing visual stimuli. The navigation bar is asking them to explore the About Us section. The social icons are inviting them to leave the site entirely and go to Twitter.
The video background is demanding processing power. Every single element on that screen is actively competing for a tiny fraction of the user's finite attention span.
This is essentially an application of Hicks' law in user interface design. Hicks' law states that the time and effort it takes to make a decision increases with the number and complexity of choices available.
So if your absolute singular goal is to get the user to input their email address, then every other clickable element on that page is basically a leak in your funnel.
A navigation menu isn't helpful. It is a distraction. It is just an invitation for the prospect to wander away from the transaction.
So a high-converting landing page operates like a locked room with only one exit. The user arrives, and they are faced with a binary choice. The headline triggers their curiosity and pokes at their pain point. The image of the lead magnet provides a tangible visualization of the solution, and the rest of the page is intentionally blank.
There is nowhere else to click. There is no corporate history to read. The decision fatigue is reduced to 0.
The user just has to decide. Do I want this pain relieved enough to type in my email, yes or no?
And that leads directly to rule number 3, explicit direction. You cannot rely on the user to intuit the next step. The cognitive load must remain at absolute 0.
So the text near the input box shouldn't just say, submit.
No, it should provide a direct command. It should say, enter your primary email address below, and we will instantly send the PDF to your inbox. You are verbally walking them through the exact mechanical action required.
The relief for anyone building this architecture is that you do not need a $10,000 development budget for this stage. The mandate is just speed and simplicity. You construct the headline, embed the image, insert the form, and strip everything else away.
You deploy it into the market quickly, you run traffic to it, and you let the data dictate the adjustments, not aesthetics.
Okay, but capturing the email is just the intake valve. The most critical psychological and financial pivot point in the entire system occurs in the exact millisecond after the user clicks that submit button.
Because the user has just made a micro commitment. They calculated the risk, felt the desire for the solution, typed their information, and clicked the button.
Their brain is experiencing this tiny spike of dopamine and anticipation. The screen refreshes, and they've now arrived at stage 3, the thank you page.
And the absolute non-negotiable rule of this specific environment is immediate fulfillment.
Right, because the transaction that just occurred was based on trust. You promised a specific asset in exchange for their data. If the thank you page attempts a bait and switch, if it forces them to jump through additional hoops, or worse, demands payment to unlock the free item you just promised, the baseline trust is instantly shattered.
The asset, or explicit instructions on how to access it in their inbox, must be the very first thing they see. No games.
But once that promise is fulfilled, the architecture of the funnel dictates that the interaction cannot end there. The thank you page cannot be a dead end that simply says, check your email, goodbye.
Right. While the prospect's momentum and engagement are at their absolute peak, the environment must immediately transition into stage 4, the sales page.
And this transition is where the economics of the funnel are really won or lost. Let's look at the mechanics of how this is handled in the source materials examples. Take the Snap Funnels campaign.
Okay, so in that campaign, the user opts in for free training on using Snapchat for Business. The thank you page loads, and the promised training video is right there, playing at the top of the screen. The contract is fulfilled.
But directly below that video is a secondary headline stating, if you found this valuable, I have an advanced behind-the-scenes community. You can subscribe here for access.
Or look at the Aaron Fletcher one-page marketing funnel example. The user submits their email to download a PDF template. The thank you page provides the download link, sure, but the rest of the page is this seamlessly integrated video presentation offering a deeper paid training course that explains exactly how to implement the template they just downloaded.
It capitalizes on the exact moment the user is highly focused on solving their specific problem.
And the necessity of this immediate transition comes down to the brutal mathematics of digital advertising.
Let's get into the math because this is crucial.
Unless you are relying entirely on slow organic traffic, you are paying a platform like Google or Facebook to drive users to your landing page. If your funnel only distributes free assets, your advertising budget will be exhausted incredibly quickly, and your lead generation will just halt.
Which introduces the most vital financial engine of the entire architecture, the self-liquidating offer, or the SLO. We need to meticulously break down the math at how this mechanism operates, because it is the difference between a business that scales infinitely and a business that goes bankrupt buying ads.
Let's run a hypothetical simulation. You launch your simple landing page and you purchase $100 worth of targeted advertising on a social media platform.
Okay, so based on the platform's cost per click, let's say that $100 drives a specific volume of traffic to your page, and exactly 100 people decide to input their email address.
You have successfully acquired 100 leads. But mechanically, your business is currently operating at a loss. You are $100 in the red. Your cost to acquire a single lead is $1.
So the immediate objective is to neutralize that acquisition cost. The millisecond those 100 people click submit, they are redirected to your thank you page, which seamlessly integrates a sales page for a highly relevant, low-friction product. Let's price this entry-level product at $10.
Now, we know that cold traffic converts at a low rate for paid products. The vast majority of those 100 people will simply take their free lead magnet and close the browser.
Let's assume a highly conservative conversion rate of just 5%.
Okay. Out of the 100 people who landed on the thank you page, exactly 5 of them read the sales copy, maintain their momentum, and pull out their credit card to purchase the $10 product. 5 purchases at $10 equals $50 in gross revenue generated immediately.
So let's apply that $50 back to the initial math. You spent $100 on advertising. You just generated $50 in immediate revenue. You are still operating at a net loss of $50.
However, you still acquired the 100 email addresses. The self-liquidating offer has fundamentally altered your unit economics. Your cost to acquire 100 leads is no longer $100. It has been subsidized down to $50.
Your cost per lead has been cut in half from $1 to 50 cents.
And if you optimize the copy on that sales page, or if you introduce a slightly higher priced product and you manage to get 10% of those users to buy the $10 product, you generate $100.
And at that specific threshold, the mathematics of your business achieve this state of perpetual motion. You spent $100 to get the leads, and the leads immediately spent $100 in your funnel.
The cost of acquisition drops to absolute zero. The advertising pays for itself the exact same day it runs.
It is kind of like a museum, right? The lead magnet is the free exhibit that gets them in the door. The thank you page is the map, and the sales page is the gift shop. If the gift shop generates enough revenue to pay for the museum's marketing, the museum can just grow infinitely.
That is exactly it. If a business achieves a break-even self-liquidating offer, they essentially have a license to print an infinite email list. They can scale their ad budget from $100 a day to $10,000 a day, capturing thousands of leads daily without ever dipping into their operating capital.
Because the immediate back-end sales are liquidating the front-end ad spend. It is the financial holy grail of digital acquisition.
It really is. But a common point of friction for entrepreneurs analyzing this system is the assumption that they need to spend 6 months developing a software product or a massive video course to use as their self-liquidating offer.
Right, they think, I don't have a product to sell yet, so I can't build a funnel.
But the source material explicitly removes this roadblock by explaining that you don't even need to own the product you are selling on the thank you page.
Because of affiliate marketing. The mechanics of affiliate marketing solve the product creation bottleneck completely.
Exactly. If you are a fitness coach and your lead magnet is a free guide on tracking macronutrients, your thank you page doesn't need to sell your own proprietary coaching program right away.
It can simply state, here is your free guide. By the way, the absolute best digital scale for weighing your macros is this specific model from this brand. I use it every day. If you purchase it through this link, you get it at the standard price, and the manufacturer pays me a small commission.
The underlying logic remains identical. If the affiliate commissions generated by the thank you page equal the cost of the advertising driving traffic to the landing page, the list building becomes free.
The mandate is simply to ensure that the offer, whether it is owned or affiliated, is the hyperlogical next step for someone who just consumed the lead magnet.
But we have to acknowledge the reality of the math we just discussed. Even in a highly optimized funnel, 90 to 95% of the people who land on that thank you page are not going to purchase the self-liquidating offer.
Right, they will take the free asset and leave.
So if the architecture stopped there, the business would be abandoning 95% of its potential revenue. The landing page and the sales page are just the tip of the iceberg.
The true wealth of the business, the $20 million backend, is built in stage 5, the follow-up funnel.
The follow-up funnel is where the mechanics shift from an automated transaction to an automated relationship.
Historically, an email list was managed through broadcast messages. The marketer would sit down, write a single email, and blast it out to everyone on the list simultaneously, regardless of when they joined or what they were actually interested in.
But the modern follow-up architecture is an entirely different mechanism. It is a behavioral autoresponder sequence.
Let's visualize the software mechanics of this because it is powerful. When a user submits their email on Monday, they are assigned a specific tag in the customer relationship management software, the CRM.
Right. And that tag triggers a pre-built sequence of communications. Message 1, message 2, message 3.
And these deploy on a rigid schedule relative to that specific user's opt-in time. So a user who opts in on Wednesday receives the exact same sequenced onboarding experience, completely independent of the user who opted in on Monday.
The intimacy of the introduction is scaled infinitely through automation, but the source material emphasizes that a modern follow-up funnel has evolved past simple email delivery. It requires a strategy of value layering across multiple communication protocols.
So we're talking about integrating email,
Yeah.
SMS text messaging, direct messages on platforms like Facebook Messenger, and even desktop push notifications.
Yes, layering all of those.
Okay, but the initial reaction to that concept is usually extreme hesitation. Because if I give a brand my contact information and the next day my phone buzzes with a text, my inbox pings with an email, and I get a notification on Facebook Messenger all from the same company, my immediate psychological response is going to be overwhelm. It feels invasive.
Oh, totally. The instinct is to label it as spam, find the unsubscribe link, and block the sender.
So how does a system utilize all these channels without actively hostilizing the lead?
The distinction between a hostile spam campaign and an effective follow-up funnel relies entirely on context and behavioral awareness. Spam is characterized by redundancy and aggressive pitching.
Like blasting the exact same "Buy My Course Now" graphic across SMS, email, and Messenger at the exact same time.
Exactly. That functions as spam. Value layering, however, respects the inherent nature of each medium. It tailors the context of the message to the platform where it is delivered.
Let's map out exactly how that works over a hypothetical 3-day sequence. On day 1, the user opts in. The CRM immediately fires an automated email containing the PDF lead magnet they requested. This is highly anticipated and carries zero friction.
The user gets exactly what they asked for in the format they expect. Now, on day 2, instead of sending a long, aggressive sales email, the system might trigger a highly casual, automated SMS text message.
What would that look like?
The text simply says, "Hey, it's John. Just wanted to make sure the PDF downloaded correctly for you yesterday. Hit reply if you have any trouble reading it."
Ah, I see. The mechanics of that text message are entirely different from an email blast. It feels conversational. It utilizes a medium designed for quick check-ins.
It isn't asking for a sale at all. It is offering customer support.
Then, on day 3, the system might trigger a message on Facebook Messenger. But again, it isn't a pitch. It is a quick note saying, "I just recorded a 3-minute video expanding on the second point in the PDF you downloaded. Here's the link if you want to check it out."
You are surrounding the prospect with highly contextualized value. You are training them to associate your communications, regardless of the platform, with positive, frictionless experiences.
And this brings us to the most advanced mechanical concept discussed in the source material: the integration of behavioral tracking, specifically retargeting messages, and the RFMS score.
Let's dissect the RFMS score first, because this is the internal dashboard the system uses to measure the health of the relationship.
RFMS stands for recency, frequency, monetary value, and social engagement. And this isn't just a vague concept, right? It is a literal algorithmic score calculated by the CRM software based on the user's microactions.
Exactly. Let's look at how the software calculates the recency and frequency metrics. Every time the user opens an email, clicks a link in a text message, or visits a web page associated with your funnel, the software logs a timestamp.
So the algorithm looks at the data and asks, how recently did this user interact with us? Was it yesterday or was it 6 months ago? And how frequently do they interact? Do they open every single email or just 1 out of 10?
Right. Then the monetary metric tracks their purchase history. Did they buy the $10 self-liquidating offer? Have they purchased higher-tier products? And social tracks their engagement on integrated platforms.
The CRM aggregates all of these data points into a unified action score. If a user's score is high, it provides empirical data that your value layering strategy is actually working. They're consuming the content, clicking the links, and trusting the brand.
Conversely, if the RFMS score plummets, the system acts as an early warning radar. It indicates that the user is experiencing fatigue. Perhaps your messaging has become too aggressive, or the content is no longer relevant to their current pain points.
And the automation logic can actually be programmed to detect a dropping score and automatically pause the high-frequency sales messages, right?
Yes. It can shift the user into a low-frequency, purely educational nurture sequence just to rebuild the trust.
Use a dynamic feedback loop. The system is constantly listening to the user's behavior, and this behavioral listening extends beyond the inbox into the open web through the mechanics of retargeting.
The source briefly mentions moving users to different sequences based on the pages they visit.
We need to explain the technology that actually makes that possible, because it sounds like magic to someone who hasn't built it. How does the funnel know what the user is doing outside of the email inbox?
The mechanism relies on browser cookies and tracking pixels. When the user initially visits your landing page, a microscopic, invisible piece of code, a pixel provided by platforms like Facebook or Google, is loaded into their browser.
And this pixel assigns a unique, anonymous identifier to that user's browser. Now, the advertising platform is communicating directly with your website.
So let's say the user clicks a link in an email and visits your sales page for a $200 course. They read the entire page, they scroll all the way to the bottom, but they don't buy. They close the window and go to a news website or open their social media feed.
Because the tracking pixel was on the sales page, it pinged the advertising network and recorded a specific event. User X viewed the sales page, but did not trigger the purchase event.
Your advertising account is programmed to recognize this exact behavior. It dynamically groups user X into a specific retargeting audience.
And here is where the behavior-based automation really shines. You don't send user X another generic email about the course. You don't show them the same broad advertisement. Because you know exactly where they abandon the funnel, your system automatically deploys a hyper-specific retargeting message.
The next time they open Facebook, they see an ad from you that says, "Hey, I saw you checking out the course. A lot of people have questions about the guarantee before they enroll. Here's a quick video explaining our 100% refund policy."
You are addressing the exact psychological friction point that likely caused them to abandon the page. The messaging feels incredibly personalized and serendipitous to the user, but it is entirely driven by the automated logic of the tracking pixel and the CRM.
The follow-up funnel is constantly rearranging itself to match the user's specific journey through the iceberg.
The technological capability of this architecture is just staggering. But embedded within this final section of the source material is a pretty brutal operational reality.
Ah, yes. The daily publishing rule.
Right. The software can automate the delivery, the pixels can automate the retargeting, but the machine requires fuel to function. The author explicitly states a rule that causes immense anxiety for most creators and business owners. To maintain a high RFMS score and keep the relationship viable, you must publish content every single day.
It is the inescapable reality of operating within an attention deficit economy. If a prospect opts into your funnel and your automated sequence ends after 3 days, and then they hear nothing from you for a month, the psychological connection instantly decays.
When you finally do send an email asking for a sale 30 days later, they will struggle to remember who you even are.
They will view the message as an intrusion, their recency score will hit 0, and they will unsubscribe.
The algorithm demands consistency. To remain a trusted authority, you have to continually inject value into the ecosystem. You have to write the daily email, record the short video, or curate the interesting article.
The technology only amplifies what you put into it. If you put nothing in, the automated relationship starves.
But the tactical approach to this isn't to sit down and attempt to script out a year of daily content in advance, which leads to immediate paralysis.
No. The strategy is to systematically build the first few days of the automated sequence, ensuring the lead magnet delivery and the initial check-in are flawless, and then commit to documenting your ongoing business process as your daily publishing mechanism.
You treat the list as an active community that you report back to, sharing insights as you learn them, rather than a static database you only access when you need to extract revenue.
Exactly. It has to be a living ecosystem.
So let's pull the lens all the way back and look at the complete architecture we have just deconstructed. We began with a single, visually simplistic web page generating $20 million, which seemed mathematically impossible.
But by tracing the evolution of digital marketing from the aggressive interruption of the pop-up ad to the value-driven negotiation of the modern squeeze page, the mechanics become incredibly clear.
We explored the iceberg principle, recognizing that the visible landing page is merely the intake valve for a massive, submerged economic engine. We broke down the psychology of the lead magnet, utilizing loss aversion and the compilation strategy to offer undeniable, immediate value.
We analyzed the high-converting landing page, stripping away cognitive load to force a binary decision. We mapped the critical transition to the thank you page, utilizing the self-liquidating offer to mathematically neutralize the cost of advertising.
And finally, we detailed the follow-up funnel, leveraging behavioral tracking, RFMS scores, and retargeting pixels to scale contextualized multi-platform relationships.
When you synthesize all of these individual mechanical parts, the core insight of this entire system reveals itself. A lead funnel is not merely a sequence of linked web pages or a cold transactional database.
It is a highly engineered architecture of trust. You are systematically locating a stranger who's experiencing a specific pain, offering them immediate and frictionless relief, and then using intelligent automation to build a relationship where they're the ones continuously asking to move deeper into your ecosystem.
In this architecture, value is the currency that buys attention.
And now that you have the complete structural blueprint for this machine, a machine designed to automatically capture leads, systematically build authority, and literally liquidate its own advertising costs on day one, the only remaining variable is traffic. What happens when you finalize the sequence, turn the key, and flood this carefully constructed architecture with thousands of highly targeted clicks? Keep the mathematics of the self-liquidating offer in the front of your mind as you map out the 5 stages of your first funnel this week, and we will see you on the next deep dive.
So how does a simple, 5-sentence paragraph about pushing a girl's hair behind her ear generate a $20 million a year business empire?
I mean, it sounds completely absurd when you say it out loud like that. It really does.
Right. It sounds like some weird early internet glitch or a scam, but it wasn't. It was actually the invention of this entirely new piece of digital architecture.
Yeah, an architecture that totally changed the internet. It's what we call the lead funnel today.
Exactly. And what we're doing on today's deep dive is really just ripping the hood off that exact system.
Because it is a system. It's not magic.
No, not at all. We are going to look at the invisible mechanics behind how multi-million-dollar businesses are built, across almost every industry imaginable, using this precise sequence of digital interactions.
Yeah, and our sources today really pull back the curtain on this specific strategy. They break down what's known as a 5-part lead funnel.
5 parts, right.
Right, and ultimately, this whole architecture is designed to do one very specific thing, which is transform complete strangers into a loyal, paying audience.
Which is the dream for literally anyone listening to this deep dive right now.
Absolutely. Because whether you run, I don't know, a local bakery or a massive software startup or you do high-ticket consulting, businesses fundamentally only ever have 2 problems.
Just 2.
Just 2. You either need leads or you need customers. That's it.
That simplifies things a lot.
Right. So if you're struggling with either of those, you don't actually have a business problem. You have a funnel problem.
Okay, so to understand why this specific 5-part sequence is so powerful today, we kind of have to look back at the historical evolution of the ask on the internet.
Oh, yeah, the dark ages of the internet.
Right, because the internet wasn't always built on these elegant, smooth funnels. If we roll the clock back to the late 90s and early 2000s...
It was the Wild West. Pure, unadulterated brute force.
Yes. We are talking about the era of the pop-up ad. And the numbers from our sources regarding media buying back then are just, they're staggering.
They really are. Marketers were buying these massive packages of impressions, like 18 million pop-up impressions for $50.
Wait, 18 million for $50.
$50, yeah.
That is insane. The economics of that era completely dictated how businesses behaved.
Exactly. Because when attention is that incredibly cheap, you don't need a sophisticated strategy at all.
You don't need a funnel.
Right. You don't need to nurture a relationship. The entire marketing playbook was just based on pure interruption.
You just throw it in their face.
Yeah, the goal was take an offer, usually something like asking for an email address in exchange for a free report or, a sweepstakes entry, and just throw it in front of as many eyeballs as humanly possible.
Because the upfront cost was essentially 0.
Exactly. A marketer could capture an email address for fractions of a penny and then just market to that person indefinitely.
But the internet is this self-correcting ecosystem, right? When a tactic gets exploited like that, it just escalates until it completely breaks.
And it broke spectacularly.
Oh, we all remember it. You'd go to a website and just get bombarded.
It wasn't a single polite ad in the corner.
No. It was like 14 windows cascading across your screen.
Yeah.
Your desktop computer's fan would start screaming.
Your browser would totally freeze up.
Yeah, and you'd spend 5 minutes playing whack-a-mole with the little X buttons just trying to read a single article.
It was terrible user experience. And that technological chaos led directly to the invention and the mass adoption of the pop-up blocker.
Thank God for those.
Right. Browsers just started building them in by default. And overnight, the entire digital marketing landscape just shifted beneath everyone's feet.
Total panic, I imagine.
Oh, massive panic across the industry. Businesses that relied entirely on that cheap, interruptive lead generation, they saw their pipelines vanish in a matter of days.
Wow. Just gone.
Gone. The golden era of building a massive online list for pennies seemed completely dead.
So they had to pivot.
They were forced into a strategic pivot. They could no longer float an ad, over the content. They had to integrate the ask into the actual architecture of the site itself.
And that forced evolution birthed the concept of the squeeze page, right?
Exactly. The squeeze page.
Okay, but wait. I gotta push back on this. Because putting up a wall, squeezing an email out of me before I can even see the homepage of a website,
It sounds counterintuitive.
it sounds like a terrible idea. If
Yeah.
I hit a site like that today, I'm hitting the back button immediately. How did that not just kill their web traffic entirely? You're intentionally introducing this massive friction.
The skepticism you are feeling right now is exactly what the biggest marketers in the world felt at the time.
Really? They hated it, too.
Oh, absolutely. The initial reaction was that blocking traffic was digital suicide. Why would you hide your best stuff?
Right. It feels like you're just turning people away at the door.
But the data told a completely different story. When they actually tested these squeeze pages, the conversion rates didn't just survive. In many cases, they thrived.
Wait, they went up. How does that make sense?
Well, the underlying psychology had shifted.
Hmm.
It went from interruption popping up in your face to an explicit exchange of value.
Okay, break that down for me.
By putting up that gateway, you are signaling to the visitor that the information behind the door is highly valuable. You're establishing a barter system.
Okay, I get it.
You are looking the prospect in the eye and essentially saying, I have the exact solution to your problem, and the only currency I require is your email address.
So the toll booth itself actually creates the perceived value.
Exact.
If it's just sitting out in the open, my brain says it's just another free article. But if I have to trade something for it, even just an email, my brain assumes it must be worth the trade.
Right. The psychology of exclusivity plays a massive role there. But there was another forcing function at play, too.
Which is?
The money. As pop-ups died and legitimate advertising platforms like Google AdWords began to mature, the cost of driving traffic just skyrocketed.
You couldn't get 18 million impressions for $50 anymore.
Not even close.
Yeah.
You were suddenly paying $1, $2, sometimes $5 for a single click.
Wow, okay. That changes the math entirely.
It changes everything. Marketers couldn't just collect an email on a squeeze page and hope to monetize that person like 6 months down the line.
Because they'd go bankrupt waiting for the payoff.
The cash flow mechanics just wouldn't allow it.
Yeah.
They needed a way to recoup those rising advertising costs immediately.
Okay, so this is where the single squeeze page has to evolve.
Exactly. It evolved into a multi-step sequence designed to liquidate those ad costs on day one.
Which brings us perfectly to the $20 million example at the heart of our source material today.
The KISS test.
Yes, this is where we dissect the anatomy of the first step of this sequence, the lead magnet.
Such a classic example.
It really is. So our sources introduced this marketer named Eben Pagan. He operated under the pen name David D'Angelo, right?
Right. And he ran this massive online business called Double Your Dating, teaching guys how to, navigate the complexities of dating and relationships.
And when you analyze his front-end operation, it totally defied traditional business logic at the time.
Oh, completely. Because all his competitors were building these massive, complex websites with hundreds of pages of content.
Yeah, they had forums, interactive features, tons of articles.
Right. But Pagan's site was essentially just a single landing page.
Just one page. And yet, it was generating $20 million a year.
Which is mind-blowing. And the sources say the only way to really understand how that's possible is to utilize a practice called funnel hacking.
Funnel hacking, I love that term. What does that actually mean in practice?
It means you don't look at the website as a passive consumer. You actually go through the entire process as a customer, but you document it like a marketer.
So you're taking notes on every single step.
Everything.
Yeah.
Every psychological trigger, every email that hits your inbox, every upsell page. You map out the underwater portion of the iceberg, basically.
Okay, so let's look at the absolute tip of that iceberg for Eben Pagan, his legendary lead magnet.
The hook that started it all.
Right. The hook was called the KISS test, and the scenario he painted for his audience is just so visceral.
It's brilliant copywriting.
It is. Picture this. You're a single guy. You've just had a great date. You've walked the girl to her front door, and you are standing there on the porch, completely paralyzed by the fear of rejection.
The classic porch moment. Every guy knows it.
Exactly. The anxiety is just spiking. You're thinking, should I lean in for a kiss? Should I just hug her? Should I say goodnight?
The stakes feel incredibly high in that moment.
They do. And the lead magnet on his site offered the definitive, foolproof secret to knowing for sure if she wants to be kissed.
Just give me your email and I'll remove all that anxiety.
Right. And the mastery of that hook really lies in its profound understanding of behavioral psychology.
Yeah, the sources bring in the perspective of Myron Golden on this, who's an expert in neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP.
And what's the core NLP concept here?
The core tenet is that human behavior is driven by two primal forces: the desire to move toward pleasure, and the desperate need to move away from pain.
And we usually think of ourselves as so logical, right?
We love to think we're logical, but our amygdala, the fear center of the brain, is incredibly powerful. The motivation to avoid pain, specifically the emotional pain and humiliation of rejection,
Yeah.
it will almost always override the motivation to seek pleasure.
It's like evolutionary biology hardwired us that way. Touching a hot stove teaches a faster, more permanent lesson than eating a delicious piece of fruit.
That's a great analogy. Exactly. So Eben Pagan isn't just selling the pleasure of a successful kiss at the end of the night.
What's he selling?
He is selling an insurance policy against the devastating visceral pain of being rejected on a front porch.
Wow. He weaponized loss aversion perfectly.
He really did. But he didn't even stop there. He combined that promise of pain avoidance with an overwhelming curiosity gap.
Right, because the copy actually framed this as secrets most men will never know.
Secrets. That word is so powerful. If you are the target demographic, a guy who has felt that exact anxiety on the porch, your brain simply cannot tolerate that open loop.
You just have to know the secret.
The psychological tension becomes so great that handing over a simple email address feels like an incredibly cheap price to pay for cognitive relief.
Just to scratch the itch.
Exactly.
So our sources provide a whole vault of swipe files, real-world examples of lead magnets that deploy this exact same architecture of pain avoidance paired with intense curiosity.
Yeah, let's look at a few of those because they're great templates.
Okay, take Brendan Burchard's famous hook, the one-page productivity paper CEOs use.
That is a masterclass in copywriting right there.
Let's dissect the specific words. He didn't offer a comprehensive guide to time management.
No, because nobody wants that.
Right. He offered a one-page paper.
The phrase one page removes all the friction immediately.
Because the pain point for his audience is overwhelm and lack of time, right?
Exactly. If you offer a busy, overwhelmed person a 300-page book on productivity, you're actually just giving them more work.
You're adding to their pain.
Right. But a single piece of paper, that promises an immediate high-leverage result with basically zero time investment.
And then the phrase CEOs use injects this massive social proof and curiosity, like, what is on this one piece of paper that the most powerful executives in the world are looking at?
I want to know right now, and I'm not even a CEO.
Same. Or look at the diet industry example from the sources. A company called Beyond Diet used the hook, ooey gooey decadent chocolate.
That one is so clever.
Right, because they are addressing the literal pain of dieting the deprivation, the bland food, eating cardboard and colliding it with the ultimate pleasure food, which is chocolate.
You're sitting there thinking, wait, I can eat decadent chocolate and still lose weight. Give me the PDF.
Right. Another brilliant example is Jason Swank's agency consulting funnel.
Oh yeah, his lead magnet was the 8 steps to creating a proposal.
But not just any proposal, a proposal that converts 80% of clients.
The pain there is so clear. It's losing deals after spending hours and hours writing these massive proposals for clients.
It's agonizing work.
It is. And the solution he offers is hyper-specific. 8 steps, 80% conversion.
So the overarching lesson for you, the listener, is that a successful lead magnet can never, ever be generic.
Never. A newsletter sign-up on your homepage that just says, subscribe for weekly updates is dead on arrival in today's market.
Nobody wants weekly updates from a company.
No one. Your lead magnet must agitate a hyper-specific pain point and introduce an undeniable curiosity gap that forces the user to take action.
They basically have to feel that if they close the browser tab without finding out the answer, it's going to bother them for the rest of the week.
Yes, that is the exact feeling you want to engineer.
Okay, so that brings us to the actual physical environment where this transaction happens. Step 2 of the funnel, the landing page.
The gateway itself.
Right, because the sources emphasize that the psychological hook of the lead magnet is really only half the battle. How that hook is visually packaged determines whether the user actually submits their email.
Visuals are huge. The landing page is the visual manifestation of your promise. We process visual information tens of thousands of times faster than text.
So before they even read the headline.
Before the user has even read your perfectly crafted headline, their brain has already made a split-second judgment about the credibility, the value, and the emotional resonance of the page, based entirely on the imagery.
There is a striking case study in the text about the author's own product.
The Black Book.
Yeah, he had a lead magnet called the Marketing Secrets Black Book. And sometime later, he took the exact same PDF, didn't alter a single comma in the text, and rebranded it as the Marketing Secrets Binge Guide.
Right, he designed a totally different cover to appeal to a different segment of his market.
But the visual design of the original Black Book is what's really fascinating here.
Describe it for them.
The digital mock-up of the book on the page literally featured a heavy metal padlock strapped across the cover.
Which is such a brilliant visual metaphor. The semiotics of that padlock are incredibly powerful.
What does a padlock communicate to the brain?
Gatekeeping. It communicates that the knowledge inside is dangerous, it's highly guarded, and it's exclusive.
You aren't just downloading some cheap PDF.
No, you are being granted access to a vault. The visual alone does the heavy lifting of establishing the curiosity gap we talked about.
And it worked. I mean, the sources note that the padlocked book drove a staggering 55.63% conversion rate.
Which is astronomical for cold traffic. More than half of the people who landed on that page handed over their email.
But how far can you push visual communication? Like, does the imagery just support the text, or can it actually be the primary conversion mechanism all on its own?
Oh, the imagery can absolutely be the primary mechanism, especially when it taps into visceral emotion.
Tell me about the Muzzle app.
The sources point to this application called Muzzle. It's a utility app designed for Mac users, and its sole purpose, its only function, is to silence notifications when you are sharing your screen on a video call.
Oh man, we have all lived that nightmare.
It's the worst.
You are in a high-stakes Zoom meeting, sharing your screen with the executive team, and your best friend sends you an incredibly inappropriate Slack message that just pops up in the top right corner for everyone to read.
The professional anxiety is so real.
It's terrifying.
And the creators of Muzzle understood that pain point perfectly. Now, they could have built a landing page with a sleek, minimalist design and 3 paragraphs of corporate copy explaining, the importance of digital privacy during synchronous remote collaboration.
Which is exactly what 99% of tech companies would do.
Right, that would be the traditional approach.
Yeah.
But instead, they chose to show rather than tell.
And the execution is hilarious.
It's so good.
When you land on their page, there is almost no text. Instead, the screen is instantly bombarded with fake, hyper-realistic Mac notifications popping up on the side of the screen.
Just one after another.
And they are brutal. It's stuff like, your mom said your rash looks worse.
Oh, no.
Your doctor called about the test results. Or, hey, did you finish those beers from last night?
As a visitor, you don't even have to read a value proposition. The visual design triggers a physical reaction.
I'm getting stressed just thinking about it.
Right. You feel your stomach drop just reading those fake notifications because your brain instantly simulates the horror of that happening during your own presentation.
It's brilliant.
The landing page forces you to vividly experience the pain, making the decision to download the software an immediate emotional necessity rather than a logical software evaluation.
Okay, so the user is triggered, they are curious, the pain point is agitated, they type in their email address and they hit submit. The barter is complete.
Yes.
But that very next second, the literal milliseconds it takes for the next page to load, is arguably the most fragile moment in the entire digital relationship.
The vulnerability in that split second is massive.
Yeah.
Because the user has just surrendered a piece of personal data.
Their email.
Right. Their guard is instantly up. They are bracing for the bait and switch.
What do you mean by bait and switch in this context?
They are anticipating the moment where the site says, thanks for the email. Now give us $50 to actually read the secret we just promised you.
Yeah, we've all fallen for that.
If you introduce friction or attempt to extract more value before fulfilling your initial promise, you completely shatter the trust.
And you never get it back.
Never.
So this is step 3, the thank you page. And its mandate is absolute, right? Fulfill the promise immediately and flawlessly.
Don't make them wait.
Let's look at how Eben Pagan handled this with the KISS test. When the guy typed in his email to find out how to read the signals on the front porch, Pagan didn't send an email saying, your 300-page ebook on dating psychology will arrive in 3 to 5 business days.
No, the anxiety is happening now.
Right. He delivered the answer right there on the thank you page. And it was brilliantly brief. It was literally just 5 sentences.
And the brevity is the genius of it. The advice was incredibly actionable.
What was the advice?
Pagan told his audience, when you were talking to her at the door, casually reach over and tuck a piece of hair behind her ear. If she leans into your hand, she wants to be kissed. If she pulls back or tenses up, she doesn't. Say goodnight.
Wow. It's the ultimate quick win. It requires no special skills, it works in the real world, and it completely solves the anxiety of the porch moment.
Instantly.
It's like walking into a new restaurant and ordering a small appetizer. If it comes out in 5 minutes and tastes incredible, your brain immediately registers that this chef knows what they are doing.
Your anxiety drops, your trust spikes.
Right, and suddenly you are calling the waiter back over to look at the most expensive items on the menu.
That dopamine hit of immediate fulfillment creates a massive surge in goodwill.
They feel like they owe you.
Exactly. The user feels indebted to you because you solved their problem quickly and you didn't hold the answer hostage.
Okay, so the emotional momentum is at its absolute peak right at that moment on the thank you page.
And strategically, that is the exact moment you transition to step 4 of the lead funnel,
Which is?
the sales page.
Because we have to remember the economics we discussed earlier with the pop-up ads dying, right?
Right.
The marketer likely paid $2 or $3 in ad spend to get that person to the landing page in the first place. They have to recoup that money.
This is where we delve into the mathematics of customer acquisition and the concept of self-liquidating offers, or SLOs.
SLOs.
Yes. This is the financial engine that allows businesses to scale infinitely.
Okay, I need you to walk me through the math on this because this is where a lot of people get lost.
Let's run a hypothetical profit and loss scenario for a small business.
Okay, lay it on me.
Imagine you spend $100 on Facebook or Google ads.
$100, got it.
That ad spend drives traffic to your landing page. Based on your conversion rate, let's say 100 people give you their email address.
Okay, so my customer acquisition cost, or CAC, for a lead is currently $1.
Exactly. You are $100 in the hole right now.
In the old model, you just ate that $100, right?
Yep. You put those people on an email newsletter and just prayed that over the next 6 months, enough of them would wander into your store or buy a big product to justify the expense.
Which is a cash flow nightmare for a small business. You run out of money before you make any sales.
It requires a massive treasury to sustain that kind of burn rate. But with a lead funnel, the architecture changes everything.
Oh, so?
Right there on the thank you page. Underneath the fulfillment of the 5-sentence KISS test or the 1-page PDF, you present a self-liquidating offer.
An SLO.
Right. This is a low-ticket, entry-level product that logically builds upon the free advice they just received. Let's say you offer an in-depth video course or an ebook for $10.
Okay, so the transition makes sense. Like, hey, here is the free secret to knowing if she wants to be kissed. By the way, if you want to know exactly what to say on the date so you actually make it to the front porch in the first place, I have this complete guide for $10.
Exactly the right framing. It's the logical next step. Now, let's look at the math again. Out of the 100 people who just gave you their email, you only need a tiny fraction to take you up on that offer.
How tiny?
If just 10% of those people, 10 individuals, buy that $10 product right then and there, you have generated $100 in revenue.
Oh, wow. The math just completely neutralized the risk.
Exactly. You spent $100 to get the traffic, and the 10 people who bought the $10 product just handed you $100 back.
So your net cost to acquire those 100 leads is now mathematically zero.
Zero. The front-end offer liquidated your advertising cost.
That is wild.
And the profound implication of this is that you now have 90 people on your email list who got a great free result, plus 10 buyers who trust you enough to spend money, and it costs you absolutely nothing to acquire them.
Because the funnel paid for itself.
Right. When a business achieves a converting SLO, their advertising budget essentially becomes infinite.
What do you mean infinite?
They can spend as much money as the ad platforms will take because every dollar out is immediately replaced by a dollar in.
He who can spend the most to acquire a customer wins.
That's the golden rule of marketing.
Because if your competitor is relying on organic social media posts, hoping the algorithm blesses them, and you have a funnel that liquidates your ad spend, you will completely dominate the market. You can afford to buy all the attention.
All of it. But, and this is a big but, our sources point out that the math doesn't always have to balance out on day one.
Really? I thought the whole point was getting to zero on day one.
That's the ideal for a small business. But some of the most sophisticated companies play a much longer game with their cash flow.
Okay, explain that.
The text highlights a company doing $70 to $80 million a year. Their funnel economics are structured so that they don't break even on day one.
So they're losing money up front.
They are actually willing to go completely in the hole to acquire a lead, and they won't see a return on that specific advertising dollar for 6 full months.
See, going negative for 6 months sounds terrifying for a normal entrepreneur. Why would a company intentionally operate in the red for half a year?
Because they possess a masterful understanding of their lifetime value, or LTV.
TV, okay.
They have meticulously tracked their data. They know that if they acquire a lead today, the immediate SLO might only cover, say, 30% of the ad cost.
So they're 70% down.
Right. But they also know with statistical certainty that over the next 6 months, a specific percentage of those leads will buy their mid-tier products, and a smaller percentage will buy their high-ticket consulting.
Ah, so they know the back end will eventually pay off the front end debt.
Exactly. By month 6, the total revenue generated by that cohort of leads finally crosses the break-even threshold.
And month 7 through year 10 is pure profit.
Exactly. They're outspending all their competitors because they aren't panicked about day 1 cash flow.
You know the math.
They know the math. But that entire long-term strategy completely falls apart if you ignore the 5th and final step of the lead funnel.
Right, because you can have the greatest lead magnet in the world and a brilliant SLO, but if you abandon the 90 people who didn't buy on day 1, you are leaving millions of dollars on the table.
Having an email address sitting dormant on a MailChimp spreadsheet is worthless. A database of strangers doesn't pay payroll.
So what's the 5th step?
The final step is the follow-up funnel. This is where the initial transaction must transition into a durable relationship.
Which is where most people drop the ball, right?
Almost everyone. Most marketers capture the lead, send the free PDF, and then go completely silent until they have a massive product launch 6 months later.
At which point, the user looks at the email, has no idea who you are, assumes it's spam, and hits unsubscribe.
The relationship went entirely cold.
So how do you prevent that?
To prevent that, you have to engage in consistent publishing. And the sources utilize a really brilliant analogy here, comparing the follow-up process to the career trajectory of a stand-up comedian.
I love this analogy. Think about watching a world-class comedian's hour-long special on Netflix or HBO.
Right, it's flawless.
Every single joke is a masterpiece. The setups are tight, the timing is flawless, and the punchlines absolutely destroy the room. But that hour of perfection wasn't conjured out of thin air the week before the taping.
Not at all. The special is just the final product. The process of building it requires years of grinding in the trenches.
Comedians spend their nights in dingy dive bars, open mics, and small local clubs.
They walk on stage with a notebook full of half-baked ideas and test them on hostile, tired, or completely indifferent crowds.
And they bomb a lot.
They bomb. They get silence. But they're constantly gathering real-time data.
They notice that a certain premise gets a chuckle, so they expand it. They notice that a punchline falls flat because the timing was off by half a second, so they tighten it.
They are literally testing their hooks in front of a live audience every single night.
And the sources argue that publishing content to your email list, whether that means writing a daily newsletter, recording a weekly podcast, shooting YouTube videos, or writing blog posts, is the exact digital equivalent of going to the dive bar.
Yes. You are testing your material on your audience.
And the metrics you look at are your audience's reactions, right? Like if you send an email and the open rate is incredible, you know your subject line, your hook, resonates with their current pain points.
Right. And if the click-through rate on the link inside the email is high, you know your core premise and offer are strong.
What if you send an email and get a massive spike in unsubscribes?
Then you just bombed on stage. You misaligned your message with the audience's desires.
But even bombing is good data.
It's invaluable. Because when it comes time to launch your flagship product, your Netflix special, you aren't guessing what the market wants anymore.
You already know.
You know exactly which hooks, stories, and pain points resonate because you've spent months testing them in the dive bar of your daily emails.
And furthermore, showing up consistently proves reliability. It builds that parasocial relationship that transforms a cold lead into a rabid fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, whenever this concept of daily publishing comes up, there is a massive psychological roadblock that stops almost every aspiring entrepreneur dead in their tracks.
Oh, imposter syndrome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The text addresses this head on. The internal monologue sounds like this. I can't publish yet. I haven't reached the pinnacle of success.
I haven't lost the 100 pounds. I've only lost 20.
Right. I haven't built $1 million company. I'm only making 60 grand a year. I'm not the ultimate authority, so why would anyone possibly listen to me?
I'll just sound like a total fraud.
That imposter syndrome is universal, but it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of why people actually follow leaders.
Okay, unpack that.
The sources dismantle this fear. using a framework called Document the Journey. The revelation is that you do not need to be the absolute, undisputed expert standing at the finish line to provide immense value to someone.
Where do you need to be?
You only need to be 1 or 2 steps ahead of them on the path.
If you think about it, the ultimate expert is often the worst teacher anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, if I want to learn how to start running, talking to an Olympic marathon gold medalist is probably going to be demoralizing.
Right, because they are so far removed from the pain of struggling to run a single mile that their advice is completely unrelatable. They don't remember what it feels like to have heavy legs.
Exactly. But the guy at the office who was a couch potato last year and just successfully finished his first 5K last month.
That guy is your hero.
He is. He understands exactly how my lungs are burning right now. His recent struggles make him incredibly relatable.
His proximity to your current pain point is his greatest asset. You don't need to position yourself as the infallible guru on the mountaintop.
You just position yourself as the guide who is slightly further up the trail.
Yes, you document what you are learning, what is working for you today, and crucially, the mistakes you are making so they can avoid them.
That brings up a profound quote from legendary business strategist Eben Pagan that the sources highlight.
People are silently begging to be led.
Silently begging to be led. That gives me chills. They are walking around with an umbilical cord, desperately looking for somewhere to plug it in.
Because they're drowning in information, but starved for actual direction.
And if you wait until you have achieved absolute perfection to start publishing, your audience will simply find someone else to follow.
Done is better than perfect is the operational mandate here.
Yep.
You have to start communicating today. Share the messy process.
Because if you capture a lead today and ignore them for 3 months while you polish your product in secret...
They won't buy it when you launch. They won't even remember giving you their email address.
So true. Okay, when we pull all the way back and look at these 5 steps collectively, the true genius of the lead funnel really becomes apparent.
It's far more than just a sequence of web pages or a clever marketing gimmick to extract data.
The synthesis of this entire chapter is that a properly constructed lead funnel is the digital architecture of a human relationship.
Think about the progression we just walked through. Step 1, the lead magnet, is the initial spark of attraction and the identification of a shared problem.
Right. And step 2, the landing page, is the visual establishment of value and the formal handshake of the barter.
Then step 3, the thank you page, is the crucial moment where a promise is kept and foundational trust is established.
Step 4, the sales page, provides the opportunity for deeper commitment while ensuring the economic survival of the business.
And finally, step 5, the follow-up funnel, is the long-term nurturing of that connection through consistency, vulnerability, and shared growth.
It fundamentally shifts your identity as an entrepreneur. You are no longer waking up every day frantically hunting for customers in a crowded marketplace, just shouting over the noise.
No, you are architecting an ecosystem. You're creating a machine that elegantly attracts the right people, provides them with an immediate, tangible victory, and cultivates a relationship where they trust you implicitly.
You aren't finding customers. You are creating prospects who are ready, willing, and silently begging to be led by you.
It completely transforms marketing from an act of interruption into an act of genuine service.
I love that. Well, now that we have thoroughly decoded the psychology, the economics, and the 5-part anatomy of a $20 million funnel, our next deep dive is going to get incredibly tactical.
We're rolling up our sleeves next time.
Yes, we are. We will explore exactly how you can model the specific swipe files and templates from the text to build this exact architecture for your own business in under an hour.
It's going to be a good one.
But before we go, I want to leave you, the listener, with a challenge based on everything we've discussed today. Look at your own expertise. Look at the specific journey you are on. If you had to distill your absolute best piece of advice into just 5 sentences, your very own KISS test, what would it say? And more importantly, who is out there right now struggling with that exact problem, silently begging for you to share it with them?
What you just listened was the beginning of a full audio, way longer, explaining every single chapter of the book. If you would like to keep listening to the end and access to the full audio, you can access it with the link down below in the description and in the pinned comment.